Good evening and welcome to the Overwatch Pacific Championship English broadcast. We're in week 10. I'm Kevin Walker. Joined with me tonight is Matt Pixie Carroll. We've got two very good matches coming up ahead of ourselves, but we're almost there. We're getting ourselves now through the final round robin.
There we absolutely are. I think we've got some of the most decisive matches out of the way, but actually from this point on, there is still quite a lot at stake. There is a relegation tournament now that's going to affect the bottom teams. There is still a lot of jostling in these middle few positions, and one of the teams in that spot is Hong Kong Attitude. Yep,
Hong Kong Attitude are going to be coming up first. They've got a pretty tough game. Pretty tough competitors, current top 3 team they're going to go up against, and that's going to be Blank Esports. So for Hong Kong Attitude as well, this is important because they're fighting for that 4th place position against Machi Esports, who they're still fairly head-to-head.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing. The match record will actually get taken into account if they do tie in total series games 2 for 2 with Machi. And the interesting thing is they've beaten AHQ, Machi haven't. And I feel like the other side of this matchup is surprisingly interesting because this is a team that did beat AHQ. If they were to also beat Blank, that would actually be quite telling, not just about Hong Kong Attitude, but where about Blank and AHQ both sit moving into playoffs because they both have a guaranteed spot. This isn't a game Blank can really afford to drop.
Exactly. So right now for Blank, they're still in a sort of position where, much like Hong Kong Attitude and Machi Esports, Blank are fighting for their position as well because AHK, look, they're on the sort of downturn, but they may still bounce back. It's not impossible. Let's get a couple of words from players and coaches before we get into it. K4 on the left.
I
know this is going to be a difficult match, but we're still going to do our best here.
其实你们这场比赛也对你们的排名也没有什么改变的机会了今天祝你们好运。
Serenity says, sorry, but I don't think you're going to be able to make any positive changes to your win record with this match.
Oh. Well, that was a very polite way of saying you're going to lose, wasn't it? But yeah, this is quite an interesting spot, I feel, for Blank to be in, actually, because they are very much resurgent right now. They're also the only team, I feel, that has come close to potentially stopping Flash Wolves' current, if you will, rampage. They've gone undefeated in the previous round robin. They are honestly looking set to do the same. There is no other team, I feel, really can challenge them right now, but Blank did come close, and they came much closer than AHQ did. So, with that in mind, the reason Blank don't want to lose this is it would show them being really inconsistent coming into playoffs. You don't want to have that on your head when you go into playoffs.
Exactly, they need to show a lot of strength, go up against Flash Wolves. So that's going to be the first match of the evening. Let's take a look at the second one as well. It's going to be Detonator Gold versus Flash Wolves, who, like you just said, on that rampage, they are on a winning streak, and it's a pretty significant one as well because they're not just winning, they're winning in 3-0s. They're winning, they're absolutely dominating the other teams, and I don't believe it's going to stop tonight.
I don't believe it would. But again, a similar kind of thing applies, that if actually an upset comes through at this late stage, even if it's not a series upset, even if Detonator Gold just take a single map, or heck, even take control to a 5th map, that would actually be quite scary for Flash Wolves. Again, they are looking very dominant right now, and they want to still have that when they come into playoffs. You want to be fairly uncontested. If you suddenly show this tiny bit of weakness, you can guarantee Blank and AHQ will both jump right on it. They'll pounce on it. They won't scrim you, and they'll scrim everyone else. And they'll work on exactly beating the weakness you have shown. And it's a really scary thing to suddenly have to take into playoffs because you also don't appear until the final itself.
And for Flash Wolves as well, this is actually a team that so far, up until now, they played against AHQ, they played against Blank, and it's difficult to say where their weaknesses are. One of the few things I might say about this team is, look, Zondo tends to die a little bit too often for my liking. He seems to be able to get himself in situations where maybe he's overextended, possibly he's quite aggressive. That has cost him a few times, but other than that, he's been quite solid, and their team in general has been quite solid. Maybe another weakness you could say, maybe came over, doesn't flex on the other picks, or plays a great diva, can also jump on the Genji if needed, doesn't really play anything else right now. Also, kind of doesn't need to, so that kind of just fixes itself on its own as well. So Flash was looking pretty much like they got it down pat. So in terms of, we're gonna see any weaknesses coming out of Flash Wolves tonight? Maybe. I would also like to assume that Flash Wolves will be A, looking to win, but B, looking to possibly try some things out against Detonator Gold. But getting into some rosters for this evening's games.
Get the rundown. And yeah, like I said, I feel Blank are in a bit of a similar boat here. It's interesting because I mean the big thing is just Flash Wolves don't want to show any weakness between now and playoffs. Even if these are games they're expected to win, they still have to take them all very seriously because, like I said, any weakness gets pounced upon. And like I said, I also feel Blank are in a similar spot. But I think they've got a much more challenging run because they, I feel, are more contestable by teams like Hong Kong Attitude. They've already beaten Matchy so far, but they haven't beaten Hong Kong Attitude yet. And Hong Kong Attitude, like we mentioned, did actually previously beat AHQ. So there's this really interesting space right now. Blank are still the favorites to win this, to be sure, but a map loss, which wouldn't be entirely out of the picture. In fact, I would say it's almost likely that we go to a Game 4, maybe even a Game 5. A map loss is a potential space for Blank to show weakness. And once again, much like Flash Rules, that's weakness that AHQ will pounce on in the semis. And then if Blank did make it to the grand finals, Flash Rules would pounce on it too. And that actually creates this kind of uphill battle through the entire playoffs run. You don't want to have to deal with that if you can so help it. And that is a very tough ask.
Think about where Blank is sitting right now as well. The sort of team compositions they play style, very much is quite similar to what Flash Rules are doing in terms of pure composition.
Yeah, Kiki can't play anything on the Medivh.
Identical. I'm not even talking about weaknesses here, but you know that is a bit of a weakness. But at the same time, much like K-Momo, he doesn't need to play other things right now with this current composition, so it's fine. Blank can do what they're doing. It's working. Flash Rules are obviously doing what they're doing, and it's also working. AHQ are the only ones still finding their feet, and they have a little bit of time. Something that we sort of discussed some time ago is that AHQ are currently in the spot where their results right now don't really matter for the playoffs because they're guaranteed to make playoffs.
Yeah.
Their results matter if they want that second place versus that third place going into playoffs because that then gives them the home team advantage for that semi-final. But other than that, they're not concerned about losing and dropping out of the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think that's completely fair enough. I mean, this is actually a bit of that time to be doing that if you know that score-wise you're safe. And I think that's a kind of a smart thing to do. I think it's still risky actually bringing it out and testing it in these more competitive games. I mean, it's a bit risky testing it out in scrims as well, but again, let's say you do have this strategy that you're maybe going to want to pull out in playoffs, so you're refining it, and then you've kind of shown your hand a little bit, and other teams can kind of analyze that and go, okay, even though it's sort of just got past the gate and they'll probably be better at it in playoffs, what are the weaknesses of this? And you can actually prepare in a way. So I feel like what they're doing is smart on the one hand, but it comes with these significant risks. And you're right, they would, if they have a bit of a rough record here, they will end up taking that third place spot. And the way that the playoffs work, for those who don't know, is it's a best of 3 of best of 7s. So that home side advantage is actually quite significant. You get it on the first best of 7, and then also the third best of 7 if it does go to that. And much like in the regular season, you get map picks for 1, 3, 5, and 7 if you go to the full 7 series. And that is in potentially 2 of those best of 7s. That is a huge advantage over the course of a whole series. So actually taking that second place seed is a really significant thing. And right now, Blank are in line to do that. They have already beaten AHQ. They would have to drop games to other people that AHQ then beat.
All right, well, it's going to get, let's actually get into what we've got lined up for tonight so far. Hong Kong Attitude up against Blank Esports. Map's already gone out. It is going to be Lijiang Tower. So Hong Kong Attitude, it's their home side, obviously. Like you previously said, home side advantage. You get map picks 1, 3, and 5. We always start with control as well. So Blank are going to get map picks 2 and 4. Yep. And this for Blank is basically a win that would secure them. Well, not currently secure them, but would push them towards getting that second place spot into the semi-final, which is exactly what they're looking for.
Certainly wouldn't be guaranteed, but you know, you'd feel like that, you know, the head-to-head at this point on, if they and AHQ both beat the exact same teams, Blank are going to come out on top of that. They would secure that second place seat. So again, every win kind of counts in a way, especially against this team that has beaten AHQ. You know, if you were to drop this, you would be relying on Hong Kong Attitude beating AHQ again. And that's not a match AHQ would be very keen to lose, you would imagine. Lijiang Tower, I think, is quite an interesting pick. In a way, I actually feel like this is quite a strong pick for Hong Kong Attitude. We do always feel that Blank are very strong with control, naturally. But with the kind of flexibility Hong Kong Attitude have, I feel like they can actually get quite a leg up on Blank here right now. Hong Kong Attitude, I feel, are in a very, very strong space, especially with players like Xiaolin running on that Tracer. They've got K4, who is very comfortable between Genji and Soldier. They've got a lot of room to maneuver here that actually Blank don't get as much out of as Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, so, you know, Blank obviously have a lot of strength themselves. Hong Kong Attitude got a couple of strengths they can rely on, a couple of players that you've named already. What is important about this match is that this is the last, I would say, of the upper tier teams that Blank have to face, because after this, they've already gone through Flash Rules, they've already gone through AHQ, they've already gone through Munchie as well. This is it. This is their final team, and after this, it should be smooth sailing for Blank. And now, in terms of looking
at... And then Fireball 3-0 them.
Yeah, that would be pretty crazy. It turns out T1 is a total just
transforms the team.
Nowhere. But look, yeah, right. You're definitely right. The definite strength of Hong Kong Attitude are those 2 DPS players. Everything else on Hong Kong Attitude has looked a little bit shaky, and And for Blank as well, it's not like they're even inflexible. AVRL still has a pocket Genji pick. You know, as far as Trill goes, he's got a ton of DPS picks in there as well. So look forward to that. But here it is. It's going to be Blank running the exact same golden double hit scan lineup they've been known to run for the past couple weeks now.
Yeah, and this has really, really been working for them, to be honest. I mean, you're right, AVRL has that Genji in the back pocket, and he is traditionally known as a very strong Genji player, but yeah, right now, he's so strong in that Soldier, there's no reason not to. Neither of these lineups are particularly surprising to me, actually, but I'm curious to see how Hong Kong Attitude can kind of use this, because you can already see them wheeling around the backside right on top of Gunba.
That's one way.
And it's a great start. I mean, they've kind of run circles around Blank here. I mean, it wasn't particularly telegraphed. They did take a good path for it. Now getting AVRL out of the picture as well, it doesn't really matter that they've lost a Ting here. K4 will lose his life, but Hong Kong Attitude kind of have precedence over the point. Shaolin is still largely uncontested on the backside. Ooh, good catch actually by Eat You Up. He may actually be able to swing this back in the favor. Hong Kong Attitude were on the cusp of capping up until that death came up. So here we go, now Blank swinging back. They're getting a bit of pressure down onto Ting, but he's a lot safer right now than the front line of Blank. There should be of Hong Kong Attitude rather. There should be a turnover before long. Really stretching it out.
And that's the difference between the Tracers as well. Shaolin was able to get a decent number of kills there, but because Yup kills him back, he then can snowball his own sort of damage out for Blank, so neither team can really close up the fight on that one just yet.
That was interesting. Mango actually was able to get that Transcendence up quicker than Gunba because Gunba was the first death. That has just swung it for Hong Kong Attitude. So actually great job by them for holding on. Blank did just get the capture on the back end of that, but that was because Hong Kong Attitude were giving themselves a bit of space to set up for that fight, which they've now won. They'll swing the cap back over. It's only gone up about 13%. That was actually a really finely balanced move by Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, it was. Off the back of Shailin's kills again, so he started things off in the initial fight. He died to Eat You Up. He came back and started things out again on that second fight, which then gave Hong Kong Attitude the cap back. So far, it does feel like a bit of a power struggle between Shaolin and Eat You Up. And
it really does,
between whichever of these Tracers comes out on top is going to tell you a lot about this matchup.
I think the other thing that's interesting to note is Hong Kong Attitude absolutely kickstarted their ultimate economy off the back of that. Blanket just kind of have to throw out the only defensive ultimate they have here, this Transcendence, to try and absorb the Strangle Blade. It will work. Oh, good trade back actually. AVRL able to pick that up. Could spell good news for them as the self-destruct goes wide a little bit. And back end of the attack visor is just enough to clean up CQB. That should just give them a bit of space on this point. Provided AVRL gets out with his life, he is going to be able to get away. And now Eat You Up putting the pressure down. Pulse Bomb goes out. Sticky's the Diva. Oh, actually got eaten up. Good rotation by Jin Kao, but he's still going to lose the mech anyway. This should be Blank swinging back. So that was a very good job actually absorbing the overwhelming number of ultimates Hong Kong Attitude had.
Yeah, so really good cap back by Blank. You know, AVRL did a decent job there as well with the attack visor. The big deal for AVRL was decent number of Hong Kong Attitude members trying to get him down, but because he lived, he comes back, you can still see he's getting kills, still rather uncontested. Even when he was contested, the big problem, like I said, Hong Kong Attitude unable to actually secure that kill, which is important.
Yeah, he probably should have been the dive target over Gunba, who had that Transcendence, but all's well that ends well. Hong Kong Attitude winning to swing back.
Both teams on 0 ultimates here as well. A couple of support ones going to come up online as well, one for each team. It's going to be a difficult contest for Hong Kong Attitude because I believe Blank will commit to this no matter what. Yeah,
getting a good catch onto Shaolin is a great start, but Gunba going down as well. It forces out the Transcendence from Hong Kong Attitude because they have to commit, but they lose a Ting anyway. This could kind of be anyone's fight here, but Blank have been able to kind of take the space. They've got themselves set back up on the point. Good job by AVRL to kind of back off. Balance finally didn't give the cap away, and they are going to hold on to that one.
Really important for Blank to hold on to that. They're currently in control of the cap, so it's worth so much more to them to stall out for as long as they can. They want to be able to hit that sort of nice 80% mark where they can get that guaranteed one fight win, come back and just cap it out, win the whole game. But we're just about there now. So Hong Kong Attitude, they use a Transcendence, didn't get much results out of that. Now use a Pulse Bomb. Again, not getting any results out of that. Might have actually gotten eaten because I didn't hear anything go off. And they're getting spawn camp on top of everything else.
This has been a really good adaptation by Blank, actually. They're now denying the space for Shaolin and K4 to kind of run around on the back line. K4's still trying to look for the pathing, but Blank are very much reading it. Here comes the dive now onto AVRL. This is much more what they were looking for, but a quick ult out of Trill actually makes it really hard for them to commit to that. AVRL out with the tactical visor, able to take it out. Transcendence going to do a good lot of work for Blank here. Yeah, really crossing that onto the 99%. Now Hong Kong Attitude are going to have to kind of throw everything at the point here. They will have a self-destruct that may be able to swing it, but it's already looking a little bit rough. Have nearly lost that mech anyway. Pulse Bomb out. Good cash onto CQB. And this fight is as good as over. Jin Kao will still throw out the self-destruct. Might not be able to get back into the mech. There we go. Kiki closes that one out. The self-destruct finds nothing. Blank have this one on lockdown. This is now a trickle in for Hong Kong Attitude. So unless something crazy comes out of Shaolin, this should be Blank picking up map 1.
Really devastating last fight against Hong Kong Attitude. Both K4 and Shaolin going down within moments of each other. And what that really did in terms of the respawns as well was because they went down first, the tanks and supports went down afterwards, they respawned without any support and they came back in as just 2 DPS players that cannot stall. I mean, if it was Tank, if it was a 10 going down early, maybe a 10 comes back, maybe then he stalls it out, they have a chance in the overtime. That's something they could have used. And the other unfortunate thing is K4 Dragon Blade completely shut down by Ata, got nothing done out of there. I liked his pathing. Just when you said pathing, K4 went for the outside.
Straighter, exactly.
He just sort of went for the outside flank, came in through that window, through that door on the side, but couldn't find anyone. That's a real big problem.
Yeah, and he did actually look for Atar first, but he couldn't close it out on it. Knew that that wasn't something he could just, you can't just stand in front of the soldier and try and hack away. That's not going to work, especially when the biotic field. So not closing that out that kill straight away probably swung that fight in and of itself, really. But now, bit of a different situation. Night Market gives Hong Kong Attitude a lot more room to move, and we've already seen when they get that, they're actually able to really make work of it.
Hong Kong Attitude are going to stick to Genji here as well. They have the option of going Soldier. They can match exactly what Blank is doing, but this is the composition actually. We're seeing the effects of Genji versus Soldier. Soldier, I feel, is so much more consistent, and you just look at when K4 plays, sometimes Dragon Blade gets nothing, and that's what's kind of costing Hong Kong Attitude in a couple fights as well.
Unfortunately, Eat You Up able to do just as much work on the backside. Hong Kong Attitude were more playing for the point, which is, I mean, surely the right thing to do in any given situation, but Trill actually went in to harass the backliners. Hong Kong Attitude weren't able to take that same room to play, and actually Blank able to come out the better of that.
Yeah, Blank had, I think they positioned their players a little bit better there. You see Hong Kong Attitude were held up in a little bit of a corner. As soon as they lost one player, they went even further back, lost a second player, then Jin Kao to suicide as well. It just all started to go downhill. And unlike Control Center, Shailin didn't get the first pickup, which is a big deal.
I will also say, as much as they lost the series, this is exactly what Blank did against Flash Wolves. They were very good at shutting down the space that Bacon Jack was trying to use, and we can see them doing a similar thing here. This time, though, already Shailin getting a ton of work done. He's able to
once
pop
again.
Back. Oh, they've got Trill out of the picture. This is currently running quite even, but Atar may just be able to swing it around. Pulse Bomb goes wide, and now Atar largely uncontested. They do lose Kiki, unfortunately, but they should well be set to close out here as they pick Mango Dry. They're still in control of the point. Hong Kong Attitude don't really have enough members to contest it directly, and this will just barely stay in favor of Blank.
And that's another failed Dragon Blade K4 as well. This is the sort of point in the game where maybe you consider switching to Soldier yourself, get a bit more consistent damage out. Losing Shailin at the top of the fight is not going to help Hong Kong Attitude. So one of their powerhouse players that they need in these fights, and they're barely able to get the damage done as it is. They're losing a lot of progress here, and they've got to get past both the sound barrier and the primal ray. So a lot of good stalling tools out of Blank.
This is the thing, Hong Kong Attitude have more ultimates, but they're defensive ultimates. They're ultimates you'd love to have if you already had control of the point. It's hard to get aggressive leverage out of these, and they may be getting them forced out anyway. No, they're just going to take the loss on the chin. CQB goes down, and now Blank are going to commit hard to this fight. They know that this could tip the scales. Yeah, they're going to have to commit, because Blank committing their ultimates kind of means Hong Kong Attitude kind of have to... I mean, they just sort of have to take it or just admit that they're not going to get this point at all, and already ticked over 80%. Even if they were able to get a cap through here, Blank would have it kind of on lockdown. They'd be over that line of only needing one more fight to win, and even then they're cleaning up this fight well and good. Hong Kong Attitude did shoot themselves in the foot a little bit, but they had to shoot one way or another, and Blank were able to hold this one down. I expect this to be a cap through.
Yeah, I would rather Hong Kong Attitude have just shot the dirt instead of shooting their own foot here, because now they lose that ultimate they could have actually come back with. And they lost a lot of time as well. We're almost in that overtime. No one even touches for the contest. This is a big problem for Hong Kong Attitude. That last fight, because they used the Transcendence here, not just did they not get enough value out of the ultimate, but the bigger deal was the ultimate kept them alive long enough. It extended the fight for an extra 6 seconds. Had they retreated, or had they just wiped in that 6 seconds instead, they would have respawned in time to absolutely get that contest for the overtime.
Exactly.
So that's sort of a side factor of what that choice was.
Option B would have actually been as well for CQB to commit his sound barrier before he died. He obviously opted not to, went, look, I'm going to take this death on the chin so that we can properly reset. Otherwise, I feel like we're wasting ultimates. But then the whole team didn't seem to follow through. They just seemed a little bit uncoordinated. Not completely off the rocker, but just not quite completely clean. And also, I want to say props to Blank here. They've adapted mid-series now. They're really shutting down Hong Kong Attitude's key players.
Speaking of adapting mid-series, this is when K4 decides he's going to go on the Soldier, and good timing too, because Atar is finally going onto the Ferris. So kind of half well predicted there, and half just, it's time to change off.
Yeah, Atar, he should be able to sit fairly uncontested up here. The Soldier isn't a direct counter, but it does mean he has to be fairly careful. He's not just going to get free reign over this, and you can already see that. Hong Kong Attitude, they do unfortunately lose Mango Jai, but they're actually getting a good amount of pressure around the point itself. Pressuring onto Atar as well. Great pick onto him. K4 closing out that one, and that just swings this suddenly the way of Hong Kong Attitude. The respawn for Mango will come back in. CQB is kind of having to work overtime to keep his team topped off, but they're able to get on top of this point here now if they can kind of get themselves into position. K4 is having a hard time of it, actually. They might not be able to pull this one through. Blank have been able to get into the point. Good work now by Kiki to keep them kind of caught up, even though he does lose the mech. It actually kind of swung that back for Blank. They had the positional advantage, even though by rights Hong Kong Attitude should have been able to take it.
And Hong Kong Attitude, they got a couple of trade picks. They're losing Mango Jai at the top of the fight, definitely not helping them out. K4 got the kill onto Eita, couldn't convert onto anything else. So the supports and Eat Up still on the wrist of Blank, staying alive, keeping their team in the fight. And for Hong Kong Attitude, no way to actually challenge Blank, despite the fact that they killed Eita. Eita comes back in the fight anyway. Cap still went in Blank's favor, and now it's kind of a full reset, except Blank is definitely positionally and ult economy-wise, way ahead.
Yeah, there was a brief window there before Kiki got the mech back, but now he's got that back. Gunba has the raise as well. This is now a very uphill fight for Hong Kong Attitude, and unfortunately, because they didn't get that cap through, this is looking really tight for them here.
They're holding on to a decent amount of ults as well, so they got options to actually come in here. The big one they got to play around is actually Resurrection. I expect Blank to make a Resurrect play here. You can actually easily sacrifice A-Time, have him play aggressively with that Rocket Barrage. Or, you know, Eat Up can just kill people, which is kind of standard too.
Yeah, that was a great catch off the start, and then Kiki bumps Jin Kao. That just flags a full retreat for Hong Kong Attitude. No ultimates used in that as well.
That's perfect.
Eat Up had used his Pulse Bomb way earlier than that, and unfortunately went wide. But again, Hong Kong Attitude can't capitalize on that window, and now he's about to get it back anyway.
The thing is for Eat Up, you know, if he throws the Pulse Bomb out, doesn't get a kill, he actually just gets 2 kills anyway, so you can almost attest that to being like, that would have just been like, had he gotten the Pulse Bomb kill onto 2 people anyway, so it's just Eat Up playing Eat Up, he's getting his damage output there. Shailin's kind of dropping off a bit.
Very early self-destruct came out of Jin Kao there, and they weren't really able to leverage the space that made for them. Now Shailin trying to get in the back side of this. Yeah, already half. He's well away from his healers, is able to sticky the mech, but they've already lost the DPS, they've lost the main healer as well. They're having a real hard time with this. Even Shailin cleaning up. Kiki wouldn't be able to swing this. Trilla's still kind of got this on lockdown. Good catch on to eat you up with the boot there, but Eita is uncontested now without K4 in the picture, and he hasn't got the tack visor either. Once he comes back, was actually shut down during that ultimate. Blank, they should still be able to keep this one on lockdown without too much hassle. Unfortunately, the Rocket Barrage doesn't find much, leaves him vulnerable. Hong Kong Attitude pounced on that, and that started to swing this over. Gunva holding onto the raise, hasn't wanted to commit it yet. Blank are going to take this because it is a 99%. They can just win one more fight and get back into it.
Good kill by Shailin there. I was actually going to say in that previous fight, you know, Eita may have possibly been able to keep that alive for his team, you know, because what Eat Up managed to do was he killed Mango Giant and K4 before he even died. So the guy 1 for 2 is just out of nowhere. Shailin just died for nothing in the middle of that as well. So Blank, they sort of, I don't know, Eat Up couldn't get back in there in time. Eita used a Rocket Barrage, didn't get a kill, and then just sort of died himself. Now it's going to be Blank's turn to get in here, and they will commit a Riz somewhere in this.
Yeah, it was very early commits out of Mango Jai. They've absorbed the ultimates now. This would be a great time for Gunba to throw out the Riz. I do very much expect this here. Losing EU up as well. Surely this is the time to commit, because they can swing the fight right in the
You can't Riz EU up, though, because if he suicide,
no, he went off the edge.
If he suicide, he can't get Riz. So they're going to save. And they're not actually too concerned here. They're actually just thinking we can just bleed down the time. Progress is definitely in our favor as well. Hong Kong Attitude out of ult. We're still sitting on the Riz. We can use this any time, and, well, any time should be a good time.
Yeah, the only thing is they did give CQB time to get the sound barrier. So both teams going to commit that now. Self-destruct is there for Jin Kao. Zones Blank back, but a great pick onto Mango Jai. Trill able to keep his life as well, and Blank are actually using that time to get themselves on the point. Unfortunately, Eita himself is not the right guy to really contest this. This could go south for him, but they're making it work. They're on the point, able to catch the cap through their Hong Kong
nice
Attitude.
pickup.
Too busy fighting out the front of it. Blank kind of coming in the back door of it. Yeah, good close out there into Shailin. They don't even need the raise, it seems, even when they had the great time to commit it. Kiki using the self-destruct to kind of create some space for themselves. They're going to be able to mop up these last few members. No tack visor to come out here. Pulse Bomb doesn't get much but damage. Forces the last ultimate out of a Ting, which is the only stalling tool they had, and this should swing over the way of Blank. Shut it out 3-0.
As the Primal Rage runs out, I don't believe Hong Kong Attitude have any options left to go. K4 is going to use the tag visor here 100%, but that's not going to do much either. Trill's going to do a little bit of stomping himself, and I don't know if any Hong Kong Attitude members will even be able to touch anymore. That kind of says the entire story of the game, and for Hong Kong Attitude, I mean, unfortunately for them, one of the big things Blank had in their pocket, one of their big sort of advantages and strengths was their ability to win those ultless fights. How many times we sort of look at Blank and they have ultimate options here. They can use ultimates. Hong Kong Attitude got ultimates. Hong Kong Attitude used them. Blank don't. Blank still win the fights. And it's crazy. It's actually uncanny that Blank can just do that. And that's how they get ahead so far.
And I want to say there was a very measured move that went on in there as well, because we did kind of mention this. They opted to not use the res when they'd absorbed all the ultimates Hong Kong Attitude had, and they had 2 members dead. This was before Eat You Up had actually gone off the edge. That did kind of swing it, but again, there was still a window before that anyway. But actually, Blank opted to not take it because the position would have still been bad, and you would have basically been in an ultless fight, one in which they felt they weren't favored. So that was actually very measured play, even though if you looked at everything but the positioning, it looked like a terrible call to not use Raze. But I really, really like the discipline, because a lot of Mercy players would just go for it anyway, going, cool, we can swing the tide now, not really taking that positioning into account. And also in that, like across the whole series, Blank right at the start, after having that one fight at the very top of Control Center go awry, because Shailin and K4 got the space to play, they didn't ever get that again. Blank made sure to shut that down constantly and did a very good job of it. That was very well played.
And the good adaptation by Blank as well is, look, if K4 is playing Genji, unfortunately he doesn't find much, gets shut down by Ata. If K4 is playing Soldier, he gets shut down by Eat Up. So sort of no matter what K4 is playing, whether he's playing the close range sort of harass or the close range, you know, pure dive, or the long range, sit at the back, more poke kind of consistent damage, he's getting threatened from whatever which way. It's quite well-measured play coming out of Blank, always having a very good threat to be able to answer everything Hong Kong Attitude had.
Yeah, and it's a similar thing to what they were doing against Flash Wolves, actually. They were very much shutting down Zonda. They weren't putting too much attention onto Bacon Jack. They were trying to shut down his space to play, but they weren't going, right, we have to have, you know, these Tracer 1v1s and all that nonsense. So what they kind of do instead, and we saw it here with Hong Kong Attitude, by killing K4, you put them in a situation where Shailin suddenly has to pull the weight of two people. But Eat You Up can match what Shailin's doing anyway. So if K4 is dead and both Tracers killed both Zenyatta's, Blank is still on top. And it doesn't matter in a way what Shailin does, unless he gets a crazy out of his mind pulse bomb. But look, that's a risk you run anyway, whether or not K4 is alive. That was very well done by Blank.
Something that was really interesting as well, that Ata barely died. He actually had a very low death count there. So as much as we say...
I think he died once on the Pharah, and that was it.
He died twice. He died to K4 once through headshots, and then he died a guaranteed second time during the Rocket Barrage and didn't get res. So those are the two times that I know he actually, in fact, died. There might have been a third or fourth one even in there, but the fact is,
had some dubious.
It's actually a very low death rate, and you wouldn't expect that normally, because K4 was on the Soldier, and the kind of question was, is K4 going to be able to punish Ata? He did to start with, but then I think eventually what happened is Eat Up was good enough on the ground game against Ata specifically, against K4 specifically, that K4 really had a lot to deal with on his play. He had to try and, he was the sole person that needed to deal with Ata, but also he was getting harassed by Eat Up, and he needed to make a choice. Unfortunately, he lost a lot of the game to Eat Up, and even it was sort of off screen, we didn't see the 1v2, but when the kill feed came up and Eat Up got a kill on Mango and then K4, it's just like, was that a 1v2 or did he get a bit of assist in there?
Was Bio Grenade down? Or
we didn't see the assist come up either, and we are on the current patch as well, so we didn't see the assist. We didn't see the assist come up, so I'm assuming it was a 1v2 play, which is just again speaking to the power of the Blank players, that they're able to just win these fights so consistently without ults, without any clear advantages. They just go in and they can outfrag.
And I think one of the other things that was quite significant there was quite a marked difference between the pressure Trill was putting down and the pressure Ting was putting down. I will actually credit both of these Winston plays here, because we are often quite critical of both of them for the same reason, that is they do often seem to die quite a lot at the start of fights. That was absolutely not the case, not across that entire game. It was other people dying at the start of fights, but look, someone's got to be the first person to die, right? So actually both teams have very much cleaned up their play in that regard, and that's quite good. But still, Trill was able to exert more pressure than a Ting was, and it did very much feel like Hong Kong Attitude were having to use Jin Kao more for aggressive pressure to kind of match what Trill was doing alone, because a Ting wasn't getting the same mileage. And that meant they didn't have that defensive diva at certain opportune moments, and we saw the effects of that at times as well. So on the whole, it just feels like Blank were able to get slightly more mileage out of every single little thing. And, you know, 5% out of 6 players over the course of a whole game amounts to a much more significant kind of difference between two teams. And I feel like that's really the difference right now. It's a very surmountable one for Hong Kong Attitude, but it very much feels like that's the difference.
And I think the Zenyatta's, as sort of naturally the case, is they were sort of the masters of the team. They both just had to accept that they were going to die a lot, and which kind of sucks if you're a Zenyatta player.
But he's Zenyatta. He's at peace with his death.
Exactly. Well, it's just the thing that you have to accept. And Mango Jai had a lot of deaths in there. Again, kind of it's expected. It's against Eat Up as well, so you know even more expected. Now the problem is, I'm sort of comparing the power of the teams as I look at the tanks a little bit, but I sort of focus more in that particular match on the two DPSs on both sides and exactly how much mileage they got each out of those two players. And the two Tracers was, I think, definitely what set the tone for me in the most part, because the amount of mileage Eat Up got, despite, you know, he hits a pulse bomb or not, doesn't matter. Like I said, he missed a pulse bomb, picks up 2 kills anyway. That's just like getting a double on your pulse bomb anyway. So you can throw out an ultimate, you still get the same mileage whether you hit the ultimate or not, which is crazy, which is just something that Eat Up can do. And Shailin looked like he got way more pressure, didn't get the kill consistently on Gumba either. Mango Jaya was just he was just like not even in that game. But Gumba was, you know, he died a bit, but for the most part, he was still there. So that was kind of difference as well between the two traces that I noticed.
And again, I mean, you know, if you look at that in terms of therefore what impact the healers had, it is that same thing where Gunba was just able to get that little bit more than what Mango Jai was getting. And it's not that Mango Jai was bad or, you know, anything like that. It was just that little bit of extra. And, you know, over the course of 6 plays, that amounts to a big advantage. This pick does not surprise me at all.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Play to your strengths.
Blank definitely back to home territory on this one. So Numbani's been looking fantastic for Blank. Definitely plays into the Soldier Tracer style as well, sort of across the board. Attacking or defending, whatever they want to do. They can just keep running that. There's a chance we might even see a Trill Reinhardt in there somewhere as well, either on the first cap or the third cap.
If we go there.
Exactly, right, because it is Blank's pick. I assume they're going to go defense first as well.
I would be surprised if they didn't.
Just something they do very often. They barely, if it is their pick, they very rarely go attack. I don't see them go attack very often to start things off with.
Yeah, well, I mean, naturally, I mean, especially if it's a map you're quite comfortable on, and Numbani is one of the, if you will, easier quote-unquote maps to first hold at. Yeah, you want to take the defense first, because if you do first hold, suddenly you have quite an easy attack ahead of you. That makes a lot of sense. I feel, by the way, that there would have been an argument to not go to Numbani, because we talk about this notion of hiding strengths coming into playoffs. Sometimes you don't want to go to a map that, you know, even if everyone kind of knows it favors you, sometimes you don't want to go there just in case you accidentally have a weakness exposed. But also, you want to secure this win if you're Blank. You might as well secure it as guaranteed a fashion as possible. Because you're right, after this, the only teams they have to play are Fireball and then the 2 bottom teams. So I feel like just playing to their strengths here is not at all a bad idea.
Absolutely not as well. I want to see what Hong Kong attitudes can sort of bring out on this one. In particular, it's just sort of guessing what K4 is going to jump on through. I would like to be able to say that...
he's going to play Orisa and just throw us
I'd like to be able to say what he's going to play is mostly Soldier here. He's not going to really... if they attack first and first cap, I can actually really see the Genji coming out again. I don't see Hong Kong attitude ever running Pharah now, because their Pharah player was Jin Kao, and now he's basically stuck on the D.Va. I think D.Va is just too important not to have, all things considered. Especially if you know you're going up against AVRL on the other side, and you want to have a bit of an insurance policy against that.
Yeah, and the truth is, even if you do want to, you know, one day have the flexibility to pull out a Pharah, you don't actually need to pull out a Pharah here necessarily. So even so, it's not a time to try out that flexibility.
One thing I actually noticed about Blank is if you ever want to know when they're losing, this is telltale signs that Blank are not doing very well, is if either RQT and Trill are getting picked consistently, either at the start of fights or rather just kind of in general. If RQ, specifically on Lucio as well, I'm not talking about, you know, Torbjorn, but on Lucio, I've always sort of noticed that in games that Blank are losing, he gets picked early, Trill gets picked super early, and the rest of the team kind of fall apart a little bit after that. Their big sort of comeback mechanic has and is eat up, because the guy, no matter how bad Blank are playing, even if it's a tough game for them, eat up for some reason just does not go down.
It's the Bacon Jack effect, is what we, you know. Sometimes Flash Wolves lose a fight, but Bacon Jack still wins.
Eat up some bacon.
And exactly. Eat up some bacon. He seems to be the same. Like sometimes Blank, you're right. You know, Trill dies and then RQT dies and things look grim, and then suddenly, you know, Eat You Up gets this double or this triple. He seems to be largely unaffected. I like this position out of the turret, by the way, by RQT. I call that the Pharah spotter.
So notice, well, it's not going to spot any Pharahs because, like I said, so Hong Kong attitude definitely not going to go for that. Jin Kao was their Pharah player, not going to touch that anymore. Interesting to note, Hong Kong attitude not going to run a Lucio for this one, so they're going to play a much slower, I would say even poke style sort of composition. They're not going to have the sort of speed to go for a full dive gear. Going to play for a bit of a setup, so first player's already dived in. Where's K4 going to sit? I assume it's going to be on that high ground opposite to where AVRL is.
Yeah, they've dealt with the turret, but their tanks are both getting really drilled down. K4 a bit too vulnerable to Trill. Good job pouncing on that one. And these two healers, they're just kind of overworked, unfortunately. Too many targets to heal. Good pick onto AVRL, and it looks like they may be able to close out an RQT on the back end of that. Unfortunately, not quite able to top him off, but in any case, the attack is largely repelled here by Hong Kong attitude. Blank had the space to kind of retreat for a brief moment and then come fight back on this one anyway, but this is still contested. It's only up to a third, and Blank have the closer respawn.
Crazy sort of solo kill from Trill as well. That really did a lot to secure Blank that game, and I'm not really too sure what Shailin was doing in that fight as well, because he sort of came in after K4 already died, and he's trying to save the day, but unfortunately he's not only just going 1v1 with
Channeling is in a Bacon Jack.
with Eat Up there, but he had to sort of deal with Trill at the same time, and he was obviously just going to go down. So I would like to actually see Shailin play more of a flanking sort of situation here and go for and get trades on the back line. If your back line's getting traded, K4's going down, you need to make sure that you can maybe trade their back line as well. Do that with your D.Va, do that with your Winston, because for Hong Kong Attitude, they got to be able to get stuff out of these fights. There should be no situation where Hong Kong Attitude don't get trades.
And they're actually really good at doing that. Like, Shaolin can actually pull it off when he has the confidence to go, but now the dive here is a little bit haphazard. Sort of Shaolin's kind of going around this one side. He's now being tied up by Eat You Up, and a Ting went around the front side, got shut down straight away. And now, unfortunately, Shaolin is kind of caught off to the side here, may be able to retreat out of this, but Eat Up's going to do
wants this.
Yeah, he's going to do his best to try and run him down. Shaolin does sort of give him the slip there a little bit, but Hong Kong Attitude still lose a ton of time on that.
Enoch could have probably actually gone aggressive as soon as he saw that Shaolin used the first recall, because in a 1v1 in that situation, as long as you have the recall up, you're always going to have the leg up. So, I mean,
yeah.
I want to be able to believe Enoch probably could have gotten that kill if he wanted to.
I think he was respecting the potential pulse bomb.
Exactly. He was playing that one pretty safely. So, Hong Kong Attitude, though.
Molten Core commit there. Jin Kao kind of flies right into the face of it. And when you don't have a mech, you can't really block it up. Now they're relying on a Ting. Jin Kao, he is able to get the mech back. So good start on that one. And they're able to kind of get the pressure onto Gunba. Here we go. Kiki out of the mech. This is the dive rush. A good catch by Shaolin to close that one out. They need to commit a little bit harder than this. There we go. Taking out RQT. The Molten Core is off the table. Yeah, where is ATAR indeed? He's getting pressured way up to the backside by a Ting, who actually dove very nicely past that turret once it was shut down. Now Hong Kong Attitude are set up all over this one. They actually dismantled Blank quite handily there. That was really well done.
It was really well done because they played around the Molten Core effective enough that the Molten Core didn't do enough damage. What they got was Jin Kao's mech. After that, I don't see any kills come up. Blank actually lost Gumba quite early, and Gumba didn't use an Anubis. I understand why, because he's thinking, look, we're going to get this fight anyway. We have enough ultimates. We still got good positioning. I'll die with a nano. It's fine. My team will live. Unfortunately, his team didn't live. ATAR committed tank visor, and I started asking, where's ATAR? Because you couldn't see him at all. He had a tank visor. Turns out a Ting was killing him the whole time.
And they actually managed to catch Trill and Kiki in this spot where they couldn't successfully counter dive. So K4 and Shaolin both went quite uncontested, as did in fact the two healers. Hong Kong Attitude now underway. Blank going to look for an early fight here, committing in. May throw out the self-destruct just to kind of create space, but Jin Kao is going to try and keep this one on lockdown while the team regroups. They're trying to go after Trill on the back line. He doesn't quite have the ultimate up yet, so if they can close one of these out. In fact, it's Kiki they get. They force out the ultimate, but Hong Kong Attitude should be able to last through that. Yeah, no problems there. The nano visor as well, putting good pressure onto Blank, closing out the kill on ATAR. Good job going hunter kill there. EO trying to harass the back line, not finding anything. May just have to pull out of this one.
Nice stack.
Great sticky. That's going to secure one of Mango Jai. And a good kill onto K4 actually does mean Blank will start to close this one up. That was very, very clutch by Blank.
And what Kiki's self-destruct really did was it zoned out K4 in the middle of his tank visor. That's not the kind of thing you want to deal with as a soldier. It's actually one really effective way to counterplay a tank visor, because he wants to play in the open, he wants to get all the targets. Unfortunately, he has to hide behind cover. Meanwhile, at the same time, Trill was in his face with a nano boost of his own. The same nano boost that Gumba had saved from that first camp defense, puts the bubble down on top of K4. So ultimately, all of Hong Kong Attitude's sort of offense options just got entirely shut down. Then the stick onto Mango Jai just kind of sealed the deal.
They got some very good staggered kills out of Hong Kong Attitude as well, but Trill going down right at the top of this fight flags the retreat. The payload will be able to get underway. This also gives Hong Kong Attitude a bit of space to charge up their ultimates. They can use the self-destruct to create more space, and they're actually looking in fairly good shape here despite that fight loss.
Absolutely. Kiki's got to be careful here. If they lose mech, I mean, they're still waiting for Trill to respawn. This is kind of disastrous because now they still only have one tank. They were playing with one tank. They decided to commit anyway, and
bit over
they just have to go back again.
And because of K4's positioning already on the high ground, he's able to straight up go and pressure out ATAR and K4. Oh, great catch.
Yep.
Yeah, being able to pressure out ATAR and K4 was really important. Sorry, ATAR and Eat You Up. I mean, they've still got ultimates. They can still commit them to a fight later on down the line. Sure, you didn't kill them, but you got the space to get the cap. Hong Kong Attitude don't have that with 2.5 minutes to get point 3.
3 kills is exactly how Hong Kong Attitude did that. They didn't even have to fight. They killed Trill, okay, forced an entire retreat. Kiki committed. I'm still kind of questioning that. I think Kiki committed ahead of his team. I think it was a call that everyone was just going to go anyway. Kiki went in first, lost his mech way too quickly, then died for it. Blank pulled back. RQT got caught in the collateral, and that was the entire cap out.
Great start, though, catching K4.
It's a trade, though.
It is a good trade onto Eat You Up. That is a massive trade, actually. This gives Hong Kong Attitude a lot of legs. That is a faster respawn for Eat You Up, but they're already getting good pressure onto the rest of Blank. They've forced out the sound barrier. Unfortunately, ATAR doesn't really have an uncontested position. Ting is still trying to get on top of it. Does have to go in for the retreat, and the trade back onto Shaolin is good stuff. But they've really blade Blank dry here. The only thing they've got now is the nano visor for the next fight, and Hong Kong Attitude held onto a lot.
So far, Kiki is kind of 2 out of 2 for that mech self-destruct, because every time so far he's doing the self-destruct, it buys his team an entire fight win. So he's, despite, getting kills or not, it's able to just force Hong Kong Attitude out. But Hong Kong Attitude, they got a little bit of time to play with. They won that sort of streets phase, I would say, mostly comfortable. Now they're going to play this Nanovisor on the backside. It's just going to get some work done.
Oh, good pathing around for K4, but the great one. Oh, what a sleep! That shuts that right down, and that means he cleans up Kiki, cleans up RQT, completely uncontested on this backline. This is all the space they need. Trill gets drummed down. AVRL is still alive, but he's too low to have any use out of this tactical visor. May even be able to book it back to spawn, just barely gets out, but I don't know if they can really validly contest this. They're going to struggle. They lose EQ up.
That's a big deal.
That is a huge deal. They're going to be trickling onto this point. This tactical visor isn't going to be able to get much because Jinkao self-destruct and a great sticky out of Shylin. Oh, good trade back though, actually. K4 has still kind of got this one in lockdown. He cleans up RQT. He's still wanting to close out these last few members. There goes Trill. They're not going to be able to contest this, not in any significant kind of way. K4.
Oh boy, this quarter is so effective there.
Absolutely huge there. Going to go very aggressive onto Trill to shut him out. And it looks like Hong Kong Attitude capped through in a pretty handy time as well.
That was 100% the duo combo from K4 and Mango Jai playing together. Now, two things really sold their fight for Hong Kong Attitude. One, good flank, by the way, undetected by Blank. So cool. That
Normally
was good.
That's quite rare.
Kind of. I would say I would agree with that. But the second part of that is also, as soon as the Nanovisor was used, notice the positioning between Mango and K4. They were not standing together. They were not both being affected by the Matrix at the same time. That allowed Mango to get an easy sleep directly onto Kiki, sleeping him down. Nanovisor completely burst the mech down, and suddenly 2 to 3 players just got annihilated. K4, by the way, didn't die a single time after that. So he stayed alive. He killed, what did he kill? He killed Trill, he killed Eat-Up, and Eat-Up died, by the way, twice in a row with no sort of response.
And that is exactly why the fight before that was so important as well, where they bled all those ultimates out of Blank, because RQT could have saved himself and Kiki if he still had that sound barrier. He wasn't able to commit it because he'd used it up in the previous fight. And just those little micro things, like Hong Kong Attitude, they had the window, they pounced on it. That was flawlessly executed. They were in the driver's seat the moment that sleep dart landed and pushed it through there as well, closed it out. No fuss, good cap.
The only thing that was sort of missing was Shylin, so if Shylin had been a bit more impactful there, that would have been the insurance policy, because the risky thing for Hong Kong Attitude was it was all up to K4 from then on. Nanovisor finished, cool, now you've won the initial fight that makes you get the cart push. You still have to deal with the respawners. You don't just win off that initial fight, unfortunately, because Trill was sort of delaying long enough that the respawns were guaranteed. The guaranteed respawns had to get killed by K4 again, because I'm sort of saying Shylin didn't have enough impact to sort of carry the weight for himself. So a lot of that weight for the entire final moments was just on K4, and that could have ended quite badly if K4 actually went down specifically to eat you up. But it was the other way around, which is how Hong Kong Attitude
Now this is quite interesting for Blank, because I spoke a little bit about, potentially not showing weaknesses on an otherwise strong map. I feel they still have a little bit of weakness on the streets phase. This one did look a little bit cleaner than their most recent performances, but getting that hardly dismantled on the third point is actually quite significant, because in the past that's been one of the places they are able to kind of dig in their heels. Best case scenario now, they go to time bank, and they are going to have to shut out Hong Kong Attitude there. Good sort of counter dive to come
charge.
in. Yeah.
The real weakness there, I think, was the fact that they lost the 3 members sort of in quick succession there, which gave Hong Kong Attitude the free cap out. Now, aside from that,
great pressure.
It's probably fine, but
they've cracked this point wide open, by the way, just getting that one kill. K4 is kind of stuck back in this hallway. They'd already pressured out Shylin on the back side of this fight. He was sort of fleeing back towards spawn. Blank aren't quite closing this out just yet, but they're taking a slow and steady approach.
You see what Eat-Up did there? That's what I wanted Shylin to do on his attack. Exactly how Eat-Up played that. Look at this. This is just a big cleanup now.
Good catch by K4, but again, actually, what Eat-Up was doing was keeping it away from the rest of the team, who is now largely uncontested. AVRL, great positioning on this top side. Jinkao out of the mech, and even though the respawns are coming through, CQB may need to commit a multiple here. He is indeed going to do that, but he still loses his life. The turret can't really pull enough weight there, and Blank are still in command of this one. I really like how they played that out. It was less about getting kills, more just about making it so that Hong Kong Attitude couldn't really do anything.
This is how they played Lijiang Tower as well. They just sort of find the early pickouts, play a sort of game where ultimates are not hugely a factor yet, and like I said, what Eat-Up did is exactly how Shylin should have played. Unfortunately, Shylin didn't play the flank, whereas at least wasn't successful on the flank, and that made all the difference, because Eat-Up was getting the kill into Mango Jai. Actually just looks like Lijiang Tower, like player for player, like kill for kill.
Yeah,
in
honestly,
the exact orders as well.
Off the back of that, if I were Blank, I'd feel very confident about going to time bank with a good time. That was very cleanly executed, and now looking to try and get a similar execution. Oh dear, Eat You Up though, losing his life makes it a little bit harder. Taking immediately on the aggressive onto the back line, and Shylin can kind of open up if they really want to secure this fight, but they don't need to anyway. Blank, they do look like they're sort of going to take this one on the chin, actually, sort of reserve their ultimates, come back swinging, but that has run down a bit of time. That has stopped the snowball as well.
This is the sort of situation where Hong Kong Attitude were pushing the third, and Blank had unfortunately, used a bunch of ultimates. So we're sort of in the same position for Hong Kong Attitude now in this defensive place where Blank are absolutely set up, even with K4 on that flank. He has to get something out of this.
Yeah, now actually K4, he's sort of had to reposition. It's a little unfortunate as the rest of the team is now opening up. They don't have that solid backline DPS. He's finally with the team, but they've already been so scattered by Atar's visor. Yeah, Atar didn't unfortunately find anything, but they're able to get the pressure onto K4 anyway. Atar barely walks away with his life, but he walks away with his life. That's the important thing. And because of that positioning by K4, actually there was a window for Blank. They pounced on that window. Payload is now back underway. Space is created, and they should be able to push this all the way through to a second point cap, actually. They've still got the ultimates.
Yeah, they will still meet some resistance. There will be one more fight because the card just won't be able to get there in time.
There'll be
but
some.
Hong Kong Attitude played very risky then. They made a gambit play with K4 on the back lines. Absolutely didn't work out for them. Let me tell you this, 2 DPS ultimates plus a nano boost committed with them. No results. What did they actually kill there? It was a really sort of unfortunate situation for Hong Kong Attitude. Still looking for that last contest though.
Yeah, they are going to go ahead and commit to it, and yeah, I do really like how they did. It's actually good aggression onto Kiki. They're going to try and follow that one up, looking to get on the backside, but they have to respect the self-destruct. It sort of catches them a little bit separated now. This is a window for Blank to pounce, and they do. Getting on top of Jinkao, forcing out the self-destruct actually, while they're still pressuring Shaolin. They take out the pilot Jinkao. Shaolin is forced off to the backside. If EUP can keep his life here, which he can, that is the cap through. Very well done by Blank. So again, that's one of the best self-destructs we've had out of Kiki. The way he's zoning Hong Kong Attitude here has been so great.
Yeah, it's sort of like the opposite of Lazy Titan, where Lazy Titan gets a bunch of kills. Kiki doesn't get the kills, but he does get the map control, which is equally important, I would say, for Blank currently. And actually out of Jinkao, he had a decent self-destruct himself, which kind of made Blank sort of flee the cart, but that was very temporary. Blank then came back and camped anyway, and while killing Jinkao out of mech as well really just prevented Hong Kong Attitude from having the stall options at least.
Yeah. EduUp is able to get right around this backside. He has that sick. He hunting for Mango Jai. Mango Jai needs to connect to Sleep here. Oh, boys, he's got it, and that shuts down EduUp. That completely swings that one over. Flags the complete retreat for Blank. Good job falling back from that one, but they've still got 3.5 minutes on the clock. They can go for that play time and time again, and Hong Kong Attitude have to land that Sleep every single time.
I mean, I was waiting for the fighter pilot reactions out of EduUp to just immediately blink when he heard the sound cue, but well played by Mango. I mean, the guy, if he can hit his sleeps, particularly the one I'm talking about was the one to Kiki when they were attacking me. Those are the kind of sleeps that win you the games.
They absolutely are, and it did completely win them the defense. This is the commit now out of Shaolin, though. Good job on the backside, and this Nano Visor is not getting any mileage. Blocked up and shut down. Great absorption of ultimates there, taking that and the Nano Boost off the table there for just the Nano Blade in return. Hong Kong Attitude still a hard ask ahead of them, but they are running down the clock. When this is going to go to Time Bank, that really counts.
That's the exact kind of engagement Hong Kong Attitude have been waiting for. They've tried that so many times now. K4 onto Genji on Lijiang. Now we're looking at Hong Kong Attitude defending. Shailin's been sticking up to Genji the whole time, and he's already had a failed ult. That was an ult that he's been looking for.
Trill now back onto Reinhardt. Plenty of time to charge up the ultimate, but they do lose a little bit of that extra stalling time. Now their own commit here. Once again, Hong Kong Attitude out with this visor. Both teams sound barrier, so nothing really gained for it. K4 forced off to the backside, and a good pick onto Mango Jai. That's what EduUp has been looking for. Gets the other healer as well, and now he's just wreaking havoc on the backline. The Ting is in a world of hurt. No healers to top it off. No retreat path. Jinkao going to lose the mech, and this is going to blast the doors wide open for Blank. They kick them open. They're charging forward, and it's only Shaolin here to contest. He can maybe stall this one out for some respawns, but there's going to be the healers to respawn first. The tanks are still a little way away, and in that time, Blank are just about going to cap. Less than a minute to go. They close it out with plenty of time on the clock.
I'd say that was definitely far cleaner. It came down to less as well. Like, they didn't need any sort of, I don't want to use the word miraculous, but they didn't need big moments to sort of swing that one in their favor. They just played the game the way they always play the game, which is they're able to find the picks where Hong Kong Attitude are not, and Hong Kong Attitude are unable to respond to those picks either. They're not able to get either A, enough counter trades, or just B, counter trades in general, just anything. And this is the kind of matchup where, because Blank so favored, I guess, against Hong Kong Attitude, that, look, Hong Kong Attitude need more than just being able to play on equal footing with Blank, because when you're playing on equal footing, even when you're ahead, actually, Blank can just pull these sort of fights out where someone on their team, whether it be EduUp or maybe Atar, even Trill getting those kills in there, they're just able to swing it back with just players and no ultimates.
Exactly. This is, honestly, Hong Kong Attitude actually looking quite good, but this is about as good as I expect Hong Kong Attitude to look, and it's not as good as Blank. And this particular situation is exactly where that small difference between the two teams is really going to count for something. Because Hong Kong Attitude, on their push on to attack first time around, they took 2 pushes to do it. They only have a minute. Blank only took 1. They got 2.5 minutes. So Hong Kong Attitude now have to do even better. Blank don't even have to do half as good.
So it's going to be a very tough ask for Hong Kong Attitude as well, particularly when you consider how kind of tough Hong Kong Attitude had it on their initial cap through. I mean, they didn't have a good time, that they failed a decent number of pushes. That's going to be a nice replace from RQT as well. It's the small things that I really appreciate.
Maximization, boys. Good dive though, good aggression out of Hong Kong Attitude. They spot out the positioning and they're getting a bit of pressure down onto Jinkao. Sorry, not onto Jinkao, onto Kiki as they try and set up K4.
Yeah, so they're going to go for that sort of game plan here, and I want to say about Xiaolin what I said about them last time is I like him to be doing what EDUP was doing on their attack.
Oh, here we go though. He's managed to get it.
There it is.
The K4 was still pressured out at the end of the day, but honestly, Trill, Kiki, and Eat You Up spent so much time doing that they weren't able to do with the front line of Hong Kong Attitude, who are actually now really getting aggressive here. Now Trill is actually way away from the point, trying to pressure out Xiaolin. This is honestly time the Hong Kong Attitude can be spending getting a cap through. They're set up on this point. K4 will actually be able to rejoin the team. They grab Kiki on top of that, and this really swings it over. Xiaolin will have this pulse one up. If he can land this as well, it's going to be huge. They should be able to get a cap through. Good trade back onto CQB, but again, K4 is actually set up now. There's no one really on Blank. Yeah, there's no one really on Blank to kind of contest it. They throw the Anubis out into Trill, but it's going to run out anyway. They do get a good number of kills through. K4 being able to get taken down. Xiaolin wide does not get the pulse bomb down and loses his life. And Blank, they just barely get this window to strike back. They're going to take it and run with it. And K4 getting routed out of that position spelled absolute disaster. It was like they weren't expecting Blank to really swing back that hard, and they absolutely paid for it.
They should have, because it was so telegraphed. You see sort of just Trill hanging around on the sides. He had a couple options.
Moseying on.
Well, I mean, he was just kind of looking around the corner, just peeking in. He's just like waiting for my moment here. And if you're on the Hong Kong Attitude side, you got to know that the Blank of regrouping. I would have actually played that a little bit more aggressively if I was Hong Kong Attitude. Know that you got a player advantage. You made a couple pickouts here. This is assuming, and I'm assuming Hong Kong Attitude had a decent number of players themselves, and they weren't necessarily waiting for respawns. But as soon as Blank actually got their respawners back in and committed to that defense, I mean, it was ATAR cleaned up 2 kills on its own. Trill cleaned up a bunch as well. The only weakness was Kiki lost his mech soup earlier and lost his life. This was very close to being another situation, just like we saw in Streets, where Hong Kong Attitude attacked, and Kiki went in too early, lost his life, and then Blank couldn't hold on to it, except this time, Blank still managed to get it. Yeah, and the truth is actually Hong Kong Attitude, there's something they didn't do that they really should have done. They could have afforded to. They should have actually spent another member to go back and help K4, because that whole time Eat You Up was actually still pressuring him. It was this endless 1v1, right? No one was winning, but it tied up K4, who otherwise had a hugely advantageous position. If they'd been able to take out Eat You Up or even just pressure him out and had K4 uncontested, they could have actually swung that easily. They could have killed Trill when he went in with that nano boost without any dramas, and they would have got a cap through. I still think Hong Kong Attitude they needed to be able to convert a few more and just try and snowball that fight a little bit more in their favor, make it difficult for Blank to get that recontest and regroup themselves together. Now, the last time we saw Blank on this offense, they had a pretty decent time, and that was mostly off the back of Eat Up getting that flank kill on the side. This time he gets killed himself, so good start by Hong Kong Attitude, but they've got to be able to repeat that time and time.
Yeah, good read and good reaction to be ready for that, but you're right, that's going to have to be done every single time, and every single time it is going to tie up K4 as well, which means if ATAR is able to continue staying uncontested up here, which he actually is so far, and K4 is getting tied up, eventually Blank will start coming out the better of this unless Hong Kong Attitude can get a pick out, but they're really struggling.
This is a sort of situation where Blank are bunkering up on the sort of top side here, and Hong Kong Attitude are unable to break on through now.
Who's attacking?
Well, the funny thing is that Hong Kong Attitude actually don't mind waiting because they're bleeding down the clock time, and now, because they get the flank on through, Nano Boost as well, that's the Primal Rage. Should be a cleanup.
It will be. I don't know if the Primal Rage was quite necessary. They probably already forced the retreat by picking
He didn't want to die.
Yeah, by picking up Gumba. But yeah, you're right. Didn't want to die, and he was very low. So I can absolutely agree with that. And they're still holding on to a bit of something here, close enough to a Molten Core and Dragon Blade. I think they feel confident they can hold this.
Actually, all things considered, that was a good fight for Hong Kong Attitude, because Blank, while they're bunkering up and they're sitting up the high ground, they couldn't commit onto the cap, so they were never threatening to actually cap on out anyway. So for Hong Kong Attitude, they're saying, cool, we'll buy this time. Every second sort of counts here. We're about to get both our DPS ultimates. Molten Core is going to do a lot to stall out this point as well. Protect the turret, protect your 2 DPSs. Okay, that's one way to go about it.
That is huge, actually. He got the opening damage, didn't close it out himself, but Mango had the shot through to close it, catching EU up as well, who is getting a sneaky flank. Blank has to just pull back now. They will be able to do that successfully because they have the defensive tanks to do that, and Hong Kong Attitude aren't going to go on the aggressive, but they've now only got time for 1 attack.
They do, and there's a lot of ultimates Hong Kong Attitude have in here. The big one they're missing is Primal Rage, because I would even say Primal Rage is really important just for the stall factor, just so you can get those respawners back in, because I expect Blank to throw everything at the wall now. They got all 6 ultimates essentially. So.
Yeah, they're really going to have to go for it. Again, the charge unfortunately going wide. They've got to last through a lot as well. And remember,
I'd be banging my head against the wall too.
Remember, they actually have to get someone on the point as well. Otherwise, this positioning is all for naught. Here goes Shaolin with the aggression, trying to get an open onto this one. Forces out the sound barrier and the nano visor. He does lose his life for it, but a great sleep. K4 opening up himself. ATAR able to get on the point, clean up. K4 trades that one back though.
It needs more.
Blank, they're actually struggling. They don't quite have the members through. K4 is still alive in this, pressuring out Kiki now. And they're doing a great job of it. Unfortunately, it's only Gunba on the point. He goes down. That was really disastrous for Blank. Very well read, very well reacted by Hong Kong Attitude. And Shaolin didn't even Dragon Blade.
I think that was a win. Was that a tie or a win?
That is a win.
That's
a win because they got it up to 61%.
Absolutely, wow. And you're right about the Shaolin part. And that should have been disastrous for Shaolin, and it was, but should have been disastrous for Hong Kong Attitude, I should say, because it was one of the key DPS ultimates that they need to get themselves in, because the great thing about their composition, and I guess a good argument to as to why they played the Genji over the Tracer, is when it comes down to ultimates, the Dragon Blade can just count so much more than the Pulse Bomb in a lot of different situations. It just presents a bigger threat that you know you have to be able to answer. Because Shaolin died so early, I mean, this is the same story of Hong Kong Attitude on attack again. Shaolin, no impact, and then suddenly you have a situation where K4 has to shoulder the entire weight of the whole team again. He got it. He's got strong shoulders, a strong back, which is good if you're Hong Kong Attitude. But you don't want to be in that situation. You don't want to have to rely on that, because there's a moment, and many times it has happened, where K4 can't shoulder the weight, and suddenly your team falls apart.
This is now actually really, really huge. Look, I did actually say at the top of this, I wouldn't be too surprised if we go to a Game 4, maybe even a Game 5. I wasn't expecting it to be on Blank's pick and for that pick to be Numbani. And this is now really significant. I mean, it's one thing to not have it be a 3-0. That would be the ideal situation for Blank, sure, right? But losing Numbani of all maps, not just Assault, not just going to this Game 5 because you slip up on Escort as well, something like that. Losing Numbani, and it was actually a fairly sound loss as well, getting first held like that. And I do feel that Hong Kong Attitude, with a little bit more cleanliness, could have actually got the full cap through on their own attack and got the payload underway. That is actually a really tough thing to carry into playoffs, and I said that when Numbani came through. This is a great map for Blank. You don't want to show any weaknesses, but Hong Kong Attitude have just shown everyone else in playoffs how to beat Blank on Numbani. And this is a Flash Wolves and AHQ who have already done that.
I think what they really showed is this is how you punish Blank for certain mistakes.
Yes.
And the certain mistakes they made, I think the important one was that crazy kill from Shaolin, combo with Mango Jai onto ATAR, sort of in the middle of that defense, which really set the stage. Actually, the biggest fight for me, that was a big turnaround, because that really put a couple of the nails in that coffin. Not the final one, but a couple of nails to fight. A couple of the last ones anyway, but the real big fight was a team with the Primal Rage at the start there, with the Nano Boost as well, because it was a big stalemate, and Blank didn't have an option to sort of contest the cap here, and they were looking for a situation where they can just sit up on high ground and bully out Hong Kong Attitude, which they looked like they were doing. Mango Jai was on the ground hiding behind cart, like crouching, like I can't even move. I got to bunker down myself here, and that's not where you want to be as an Ana anyway. And it was, you look at that, it's like it's. At any point, Blank can just fall. At any point, Hong Kong Attitude can fall apart with that defense, and then suddenly the nano boost from a team just cleaned up house and caught everyone in that small room. And at the end of the day, I kind of agree with him using the Primal Rage just to save himself, because valuing his life and then being available and set up for the next fight was important, because then they got the further kills anyway, just sort of snowballed themselves.
And they had the other ultimates coming up anyway. It was, all's well that ends well, exactly. And you're right, valuing the life, it just means that they didn't have to worry about getting him back and then into position. And in that time, Blank would have been able to get their tanks onto the high ground. You need the Winston to be able to constantly pressure that high ground. Even if he's going on and coming off, what you're doing is you're stopping Blank from committing to the point itself, which is what they have to do at some point if they want to cap. funnily enough. And we saw that right at the end as well. The clock was running down. Blank kind of had to get into position. They still had to kind of take that high ground, start all that off, look for a pick, and then at some point they just kind of had to commit to the low ground anyway. And then Hong Kong Attitude didn't even let them do that. They really read Blank's maneuvers there. That was really, really nicely done.
I think the big opening fight really said a lot, because kind of what I mentioned about Hong Kong Attitude is if Blank just want to sit on the high ground and not contest a point, well, cool, the time is in our favor, because I mean, the seconds are flying by and you are not doing
like
anything.
it's just Hong Kong Attitude, like Mango Joe, he's crouched behind the payload, but he's sitting there going like, looking up at Blank.
It's like, eventually you got to do, it's not on us to do something, it's
like,
on you guys on the attack.
Sure.
The attackers got to do something.
I can just keep fire-grenading myself. I'm having a great time.
I think that's the big problem is Blank, well, they knew they had more time, and they played it like we know we have 2.5 minutes, we're going to play to the full 2.5 minutes, and they did that. The big problem was they waited until the last 30 seconds to make their full commit. What would have happened had they fully committed earlier and maybe gotten a better result set? Because again, I believe Blank is a team that can just get the trades no matter what. If they committed earlier, maybe it's not like the full stars aligned situation where everything looks fantastic, but you still manage to get in there and you actually have a fight.
And the funny thing about that is actually because Hong Kong Attitude hadn't got the cap through, they'd got it to 61%, which isn't even 2/3. Actually, Blank could have played for thirds. If they'd really wanted, they could have committed to an early fight straight off the bat. You do have to take a moment to kind of scout the defense out when there's that tourbillon spot of the turret, figure out how you're going to deal with it. But even then, the turrets tend to be in fairly similar positions these days. You could have actually gone ahead with that. You knew that you had Mango Jai pinned. You could have gone ahead and committed. They hadn't really set themselves up to do that though, because they played for this Reinhardt comp instead of running the Winston. And they couldn't just go in aggressive with, you know, in a sense, reckless abandon. Know you're going to get wiped, but at least pressure out enough to cap a third, and then go ahead and do that again. That would have really put Hong Kong Attitude on the ropes. And as much as I appreciate the patient play, you could have afforded not to, and it would have actually had a higher chance of working, because that patient play, you only get one shot, do not miss. Your chance to blow, this opportunity comes once in a lifetime.
It's interesting you talk about Blank maybe essentially playing for chipping out the cap, because what they ended up ironically playing for is chipping out damage-wise with the composition, which is, we're going to set up here, Reinhardt shield in front.
It's the same thing, just not playing to the objective, it's playing to kills.
Exactly, well the objective to then try and snowball into getting kills, which is what happened the first time around, because Eat-Up got around, got the kills, but instead, hey, when you actually saw what Eat-Up did, he just died to K4, so I want to also believe there's an opportunity where Hong Kong Attitude kind of learned their lesson from the first time they defended against Blank, and they really did a great job of that. I want to find out how we're going to do on Assault and also on Escort. We're guaranteed to go to a map number 4, which is a very exciting sort of a matchup between
Dorado
these two
boys.
teams. So I mean, that's all going to happen in just a short while. So Hong Kong Attitude versus Blank, map 3 still coming up. We'll see you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a game on our hands. Welcome back to Hong Kong Attitude versus Blank Esports. It's 1-for-1. Cannot believe I'm even saying that, but on the other hand, I can totally believe it.
Well, and I did say, like I said, right at the top of this, I wouldn't be surprised for this to go to a map 4. I wouldn't even be too surprised now if it goes to a map 5, because the next one up is going to be Assault. Traditionally, it's Blank's weakest. They don't look as weak as they used to, but there are still a lot of question marks about this. If Hong Kong Attitude could do it on Numbani, especially if it went to Time Bank, I can absolutely see them doing it on Temple of Anubis.
Now, on the other hand, I do believe Numbani kind of gives Blank a bit of a kick up the Blank. So it's now time for Blank to be able to look at them and be like, okay, well, this is a team that can threaten us. They've already taken a map off us. We got to be able to bring this one back. We can't go to a map 5. If you're on the Blank side right now, you do not want to go to a map 5. You don't want to close this one out. You want to close this one out within 4 minutes. But look, the unfortunate thing is, if we're going to look at Blank's strength, look, they start out on control. They're obviously favored on control. They're favored in general, but on control especially, their best game mode. Statistically, when we look at control for Blank, they generally win. They're super confident and super dominant.
They always look good.
Then you got a hybrid. It's like, yeah, they're good. They're very good on hybrid. They've had some hiccups there, but ultimately very good. Then you get the Assault, and we're starting to get a little bit downhill. The good news for Blank is when we get to Escort, bam, it's just straight up there. So,
and it will be their pick for Escort. So if they can win this, I think they have a very real opportunity to close it out in the 4th game on Escort, where they get their pick. I would expect, I mean, sure, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but I would expect it to go to Dorado. I would expect it to be a win. But then again, Hong Kong Attitude are actually very good at that momentum-based gameplay. So there is still very much a window for them to do it. And that's the thing. I feel like at no point here is Blank so favored that a loss would be an upset. I feel like in every single one of these, there is a very real opportunity for Hong Kong Attitude to win. I actually think there is a very real opportunity for Hong Kong Attitude to take Assault and then even take Dorado off Blank, given that they've just done that on Numbani. So Blank really still have to respect Hong Kong Attitude.
So here's the thing Hong Kong Attitude need to be able to shape up, because this has been their weakness so far, which is if Shaolin is not performing, way too much pressure onto K4 to be able to perform. Now, thankfully, when he's needed to be able to get the kills and when he's needed to shoulder the weight of the team, he's done that. But that is also a bit of a weakness. Look, if Blank can just, if they're able to kill K4, which they've done many a time in the past already, just look at Lijiang, it was like a bit of a no-show from K4, if I can be frank about that one. Unfortunately, we're not in control anymore, which works fantastic for Hong Kong Attitude. They have to be able to get a decent amount more out of Shaolin so that if K4 actually goes down early, Shaolin can then shoulder that weight, because currently it does look like if K4 goes down, well, Shaolin can't put the weight on, and then the entire team sort of doesn't really have a chance to come back.
Yeah, and you just don't want to end up in that situation in the first place, even if you can tap into that a little bit. I mean, it almost reminds you a little bit of like old school Fireball, where the game plan was basically, all right, let's get a Puto to get a bunch of kills.
Yeah.
You don't want to play for that kind of game.
Because it was super risky. Like, if you even
hold on. This is Attack
Okay.
Sombra. We've got to talk about this.
All right. Well, Mango Jai special. I mean, that's like one of those alleyway restaurants that you got to know someone to know where it is.
Yeah.
Mango Jai is Mango working today, because he's got the one I want.
The password is Sombra. This is telegraphed though. He's hacked the health pack, and Blank have now gone aggressive in this room, so they are going to see that hacked health pack there. They know that Mango is running this Attack Sombra. They have seen it before, and this means they have an opportunity to go aggressive. Yeah, but you're right, they're not going aggressive enough. What you've got to do, Mango Joe is going to go around the side. He's going to hack health packs in advance at this point as well. You have to kind of aggress onto Hong Kong Attitude while they're busy doing that. They do catch Shaolin. That might just be enough to give them the space if Blank aren't able to, if Hong Kong Attitude rather aren't able to get a trade back here. It looks like that is going to be the case. Hong Kong Attitude aren't going to give up too much ground, but they're certainly not going to be able to get aggressive just yet.
We actually haven't seen Atar and Genji for a decent while as well, so, he's been mostly just playing Soldier. He's only played Soldier. In fact, is that an Oregon EMP? That's very quick. It is. That was very quick. Oh, and they pick Trill and knock Kiki's mech. This is the go button now. The EMP was out there. It was a good, got a lot of mileage out of it. Cut the block out, and they go aggressive. Unfortunately, lose K4. Oh, good trade back by Atar. They still need to shut him down. They don't really have any healers here because they're running the Sombra. They hadn't actually helped that other health pack, but they are able to clean up because you're right. Atar got stuck. Mango Jai able to close that one out. Very nicely done. And now this is what this Sombra does. You go forward and you deny the defensive Sombra. Who's going to get there first? Because Gumba's now spawned
Mango's
as
here.
well.
Ooh,
Mango's
he doesn't catch it.
That was great by Blank, because they knew Mango was going to come for the health pack. So Gumba and Trill were both sitting there. Now, one thing that Hong Kong Attitude actually did quite well after the EMP was the first hack target after the EMP came out was Eat Up. Because he hacked Eat Up, goodbye a recall, goodbye Blank, you're now out of the fight.
I've got to jump in here as well, because this is so huge for them. Yeah, this is, woohoo, here we go. Look, yeah, Blank got those health packs first, but look at how far away EMP is. This, first of all, is Hong Kong Attitude's window. Second of all,
ultimates.
Mango Jai's EMP will hack the health packs Gunba controls. It flips that over into Hong Kong Attitude's favor. They already had the ults favored. They have a huge window. Here's the commit now. Mango Jai right into the middle of them. Sound barrier out. He's waiting for the opportunity. There it goes. There's the commit. CQB getting well pressured, and a commit near now here by both K4 and Atar. K4 is getting the mileage though. Atar struggling. K4 will get forced out now, and they got a good number of trades through. Hong Kong Attitude should be able to cap a third here. Hit Jinkout back in the neck. Here we go. Yeah, Gunba, he's sort of holding on. They're able to trade back onto Shaolin. That could be all they need here. It doesn't matter if a team stalls. They will get a third. They won't get a full cap through, as these respawns should start to overwhelm. Actually, a team wants to commit to this one. Forces out the ultimate from Trill, but this favors Blank anyway. I think we'll see Hong Kong Attitude getting repelled here unless something absolutely crazy happens. There we go. The retreat out of a Ting, but a good third through by Hong Kong Attitude with a ton of time still on the clock.
And another fight where actually Blank went with minimal ultimates. Don't forget, Gumba had an EMP. He did not commit that at all in that last fight. He didn't need to. He just didn't need to. Eventually, the Blank respawners overwhelm Hong Kong Attitude, and that's a problem because I actually think Hong Kong Attitude, with the advantage they had, 6 ultimates, no EMP on the other side, health pack control in the side rooms as well, 2/3. That should have been, they should have gone 2/3. 1/3, you'll take it. 2/3 is what was expected though.
Good hack back by Gunber actually to retake control of that lower health pack there in that brief window. Now here's the EMP. It's getting very deep. Actually got a little bit caught up, unfortunately, but good commit. Not quite able to close out before the Diva is back in action, but they do catch K4 in that and forcing out a Ting as well. Will take the wind out of the sails for that, so they will repel that attack despite losing ATAR.
So here's the thing with the two Sombras here is they're actually just trading EMPs. One Sombra will EMP, the other one will then EMP straight after. It's exactly what it is, tail two Sombras, because it's like you're going to EMP, cool, I'm going to come back and now I'm going to EMP. Who's going to get more out of the EMP? And I want to believe that Honko Attitude can in fact get more because Honko Attitude have the ability to sort of escape when Blank go aggressive. Blank don't. You want to escape, cool, you're going to give up cap time.
Yeah, and look, Mango is actually able to regain control of this health pack on the side here. As soon as his hack is back available, doesn't matter that he hasn't got the middle health pack, they'll reclaim that with the EMP. And actually just kind of hurts Blank a little bit. Plus, with the way Reaper kind of heals, I mean, it's not too significant, but they don't lose as much. Early EMP out from Mango. Gunber hides back, bides his time. They need to get good closeouts, and they have caught Trill in that. There's the hack out of Gunber, shuts down the sound barrier. Great catch there, and now aggression from EDU as he catches the mech, and he's able to get a little bit more mileage here than Hong Kong Attitude, who don't look like they're really poised to cap the second dirt. ATAR opening up with the Dragon Blade, getting a good rack of kills there. K4 is trying to do some work, but they don't really have the numbers here to continue this one unless they get some crazy kills. Good catch on to eat you up, actually, by a Ting, but the sound barrier is out from Blank, and Hong Kong Attitude still don't really have the numbers to push this one through, so well held by Blank. I actually
think Hong Kong Attitude should have pushed a little bit earlier because they pushed late enough that Gunber managed to get his EMP up by the end of it. You want to be in a situation where you can EMP and you're not expecting a counter EMP. If you're in a situation where by the time you EMP, Gunber's already got his EMP back, I think you're late to the party because that was a big advantage that you no longer have. So Hong Kong Attitude, a little bit more speed would have been great. Trying to get that second, third, still can't get it. And if EMP comes out from Gunber after UMP, I think Blank definitely are able to take that. Plus, they got rid of the sound barrier, which is huge.
Gunber kind of channeled his inner mercy and just sort of hit off to the side there while the EMP was through. Funnily enough, Sombra is probably one of the characters that gets shut down the most by EMP. In any case, aggression out from Blank. No nonsense on this one. Going to kind of cut this one off at the neck, and Hong Kong Attitude completely routed out. Great commit. And with that health package still there, even if Mango Jai is great. That's so huge. Even if Mango Jai has this EMP and converts the health packs, Blank will still be able to charge up Gunbers in time anyway.
I think we need to do a bit of a Mythbusters because I don't know if the EMP actually hacks another Sombra's hacked.
I believe it does. Well, I had it under.
I don't know.
It was under grand assertion from Smite that it does happen.
May have to do a Mythbusters on that one. I definitely know it hacks it if it's unhacked, but if it's rehacked, then who knows? We'll have to figure that one out. But both Sombras now have an EMP. Whoever uses if you use first and you kill the other Sombra, great. If you use first, you don't kill the other Sombra, you counter EMP, that's when you lose.
Very aggressive maneuver here by K4. They're not wasting any time on this one. Looking to get right in the back line of this one. Unfortunately, that's right by the spawn, so without closing off that kill, they're kind of struggling a little bit. Still waiting to commit any ultimates. There's the first hack out of Gunber, and EMP Chicken is lost as Mango Guy. Sure, Mango Jai gets shut down. K4 the only one trying to do work here, and he's going to have a hard time in this 1v1. Is indeed going to lose it, and Blank holding on again. Now Hong Kong Attitude very lean for time and not necessarily looking to better for ultimates either.
All right, well, you know, Hong Kong Attitude didn't commit. That's cool because if they go fast now, if they did what they didn't do a couple fights ago, they get in there before Gunber can definitely get his EMP back. Use your EMP with use your own EMP and get the combo, which is actually having the Death Blossom hit something, because K4's been sitting there for a long time. We don't want to see a repeat of when Fireball tried the same thing. And what was it? Apuro couldn't even get it. Couldn't get a Death Blossom.
Here we go. That's a good commit. Sound barrier out where the hack isn't there. That's the Death Blossom. It does catch ATAR. That is at least something. Good aggression now onto Trill. They catch that. This is the opening they need. They have, unfortunately, not got the EMP anymore. K4 very, very low, and he's desperately trying to regroup, but they are all over this point. Blank not able to get back onto it. Barely contesting there. Eat you up. Pulse bomb goes wide. Gets shut down. Trill is going to try and stall out on this May, but he's not even going to be able to touch the point. Catch onto RQT. Actually, he may just touch the point. There we go. The stall is there, but Hong Kong Attitude have the numbers. They have the not even the ultimates anymore. K4 unfortunately committing out of that one, but there we go. Yeah, good catch by Trill, but they're still kind of trickling onto this one. The hack could swing it though. If Gunber can get back out and Kiki is still in the picture, they're pressuring out a Ting, and it's working. It is indeed working. Eat you up. He's able to do the work. They shut down Mango Jai. The second EMP didn't come through for Hong Kong Attitude, and they are just barely going to fall short of the mark. No time back, no sir. They get repelled at the 11th hour. Good hold on by Blank. An absolute disaster disaster for Hong Kong Attitude. Very unfortunate there.
Wow, it's a real heartbreaker because what is that percentage? 96.4. They're actually still barely trying to hold on to, but they don't have any more win conditions. There's not going to be another EMP out of Mango. Definitely not in time.
No.
Got support coming in as well. It's just going to be a final attempt. And Trill, at the end of the day, the May pick was a fantastic enough.
It actually worked.
Well, I mean, it usually does. It's what May does.
Yeah,
it's May. Hello, hi May.
Yeah.
And it gave Kiki a decent amount of time to charge him with his own mech, and then Eat Up came back, and the big swing was the EMP from Gumba, which he didn't get to use because he died on like 60% respawn, cool charges up to about 98%, dies again, crucially, at that 98% mark. That's when Hong Kong Attitude needed to win. If they won before Gumba respawned again and actually used EMP, that would have been it. They just had to, that was their window. And because the stall was so good from Kiki and Trill, Gumba comes back in comes back in at the EMPs, bam, that's the entire fight closed.
The interesting thing in that, by the way, is the stall was long enough. Actually, Hong Kong Attitude were just about to get it over the line before overtime kicked in. The stall was long enough such that even if Hong Kong Attitude had pushed through after that, they would have pushed through in overtime, wouldn't have had an opportunity to attack, which would have still been good for Blank. And then even better was actually the cap didn't go through. That being said, got up to about 91, I believe 91.8% if I'm not mistaken. We will get confirmation.
96.4.
96.4. Wow, what a radio station.
Yeah, you beat me to it. You beat me to it.
Actually, I think the reason I thought it was 91.8 is because that actually is a local radio station. I don't even listen to that radio station, but the actual point here is this is still very achievable for Hong Kong Attitude, actually. Holding Blank out at that 96% mark. Look, that's basically a cap for Blank anyway. That's still a bit of an ask. So even though they were repelled at the last minute there, this is still very much within shooting distance for them to take.
It's about as good as you can get without going into the full-time bank. And we're not going to see another time bank, unfortunately, or maybe if you're Blank, definitely fortunately. And Eat Up on the Widowmaker is scary as well. And usually we'd be in the sort of case where we're like, what happens if he doesn't get the picks? This could be a huge waste of time. But then you remember it's Eat Up and he definitely gets the picks.
Yeah, he will almost certainly get one. And if not, the other thing Widowmaker does do is cause...
Almost got one there.
Nearly forced out the bio grenade. The other thing Widow does do, though, is it zones out the other team, and Blank are really great at taking advantage of the positioning they kind of force out of the defenders.
Yeah, so this is going to be Hong Kong Attitude, going to have to turtle for a bit here. Time is important. They want to bleed out this timer for as long as possible.
That's a good way to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the other thing that's important is you have to remember, because ATAR is actually on the trace now, Eat Up doesn't have the option to change back. So if this Widowmaker for some reason doesn't work out, and that reason would actually be, look, he doesn't get the picks, not because he can't aim, but because Hong Kong Attitude positioned properly against it, then guess what? Eat Up can't actually change on the tracer. That's actually a big issue.
Yeah, good retreat by a Ting there. Pressured out, Eat You Up, bought more time, and then able to get out with his life. Very nicely balanced. This is the ult out, though, and that signals everywhere the Hong Kong Attitude are. Blank know exactly where to dive.
This is a dangerous period for Hong Kong Attitude to be in.
Ooh,
at least they're winning a lot in the front lines.
That should have been spotted out, but the Molten Core is able to kind of get enough mileage, even though they know where that was. That forces out the res, but the pressure is still there. Molten Core is up, but the turret's uncontested. They got good damage onto Kiki. They do pick off RQT, but they've lost a Ting here. They can still go aggressive, need to be able to close out ATAR. Remember, Eat You Up can't actually contest this point. Ultimate out from Gunba. They've already lost Kiki. Good pressure onto Trill, able to take him out. Pulse Bomb does catch Jin Kao's mech, but that's all. And Blank, they actually get repelled from this. Not even a third capped.
And this is the other issue as well, because you got ATAR and Tracer, there's a big difference. You see in ATAR's Tracer play versus Eat Up's Tracer play, he just kind of dies. He just kind of went in there, barely did the damage. Well, I just want to be kind of straight with the difference here. It's not even a slight against ATAR, because look, ATAR's a good soldier, he's a good Genji, which is why he's back into the soldier.
He's a good player.
You need to be able to put Eat Up back on the Tracer, which is exactly what Blank are doing here. It's a little bit of an awkward swap around, but it's a necessary one.
And I do like the timing on this. It is about as close to 0 ultimates as you're going to get for Hong Kong Attitude. It's a good time to commit. The Nano Boost goes out onto a Ting, but they go aggressive anyway. Yeah, take out Jin Kao, take out Mango Giant. Yeah, looking absolutely comfortable. They had 2 minutes to play with there, and they absolutely play with them. In fact, they run circles around Hong Kong Attitude. Perfectly timed swap by Blank. Very nicely executed so far. Good trade backs over Hong Kong Attitude. So it's not over just yet. The mech able to come back for Kiki after that self-destruct, but Jin Kao got back in his anyway.
It's a fast multiple.
Yeah, and that is, I mean, it was already up at about 80%, and he gets a good number of kills. Trill is now kind of stalling this one out, but his team can't actually regroup with him, even though the spawns are closer because they haven't got the kills through, and Hong Kong Attitude actually will hold.
Impressively so as well. And I got to say, off the back of a well-placed pulse bomb by Shailin. So usually what has happened is, you know, when these two traces meet, Eat Up generally comes out ahead, and Shailin has been sort of in that case where we're saying, okay, Shailin, well, mainly that I say Shailin maybe not pulling the weight here, too much weight on the K4's back. Now Shailin was actually one that swung the fight over for Honk Attitude, gave K4 the room to breathe. Molten Core as well just sorted out enough time. Staggered kills at the end against Trill and against Kiki means Blank loses a lot of time here.
Yeah, the good news for them though is they did bleed Hong Kong Attitude's ultimate strike.
Oh,
great start here. Eat Up now pathing around the backside of this. He's going to really try and pressure out. Jin Kao not getting enough. Turret down and out for the count. No Molten Core to save it. And this is the aggression. Yeah, Shailin really has to do work. Pulse Bomb goes wide, so no work done. Jin Kao catches nothing.
And this is the problem.
Be the push through.
This is the problem I'm talking about for Hong Kong Attitude is if K4 goes down early, it doesn't look like the team can really pull it back together. Mango Jai smells the defeat on the first camp, already goes into Sombra, but what is impressive about this defense so far is the amount of time they got was really good. And the fact that you not even outplayed, but you played around the Widowmaker from Eat You Up. You forced him to change off. You forced two members, by the way, of Blank to change out. That's a big deal. It's a lot of time wasted for Blank.
Hong Kong Attitude had 6.5 minutes to get the cap through, and they did actually do very well in that time, but they only had to hold out Blank, here for about 4 minutes. There's going to be an aggressive Sombra out of Gunba as well, by the way.
And neither Sombra is going to have the EMP in time, but Blank do have a bunch of
time to commit for Blank.
Blank could get a third here. Quite easily.
They could get a third, and if they can get a chunk of kills, they could actually get a lot more than a third, but Mango very close to this one. Jin Kao going to commit the self-destruct off to the side, but goes down while he's doing it, does catch Gunba, but they lose Mango. Atar still getting work done, finally gets the trade back. They may not be able to secure a third here if they're not careful here, but they are at least set up. Trill can stall it out. They're really trying to commit hard to catch this one. They're going to be able to force out a Ting, actually very nicely caught. That will be their first third sorted for them. And they want to continue this one. Trill's able to stall this one out, and the members are regrouping. They're actually killing Hong Kong Attitude as they come out of the base. This EMP is well placed, but it can't get mileage because the team isn't alive yet. Hong Kong Attitude kind of threw that one away, unfortunately, and Blank is still set up on this. They finally lose Trill, but the rest of the team had respawned. They get Mango. K4 is going to have to do a lot of work here because Shailin is busy getting pressured. Blank may just flag a retreat. Actually didn't get a third here.
No, they didn't.
Dear.
That's a bit of a disaster for Blank, unfortunately. And the problem is that they got even trades. Even trades from Blank on attack, not good enough. You have to be able to out-trade the defense because Hong Kong Attitude, they just respawn, which is exactly what happened. EMP at the end there for Mango Jaizo. He was the first Sombra to get it because Gumba died in the middle of one of those fights there. Trill committed the Primal Rage. RQT committed the Sound Barrier. You know and you look, and Blank really wanted to get themselves in this. That's a minor kill because it gives Gumba the EMP. He was going to get it anyway. Mango Jai will respawn. It just slows down the counter EMP.
But the other thing it does do is it gave space for ADO up to go aggressive, but never mind. The team got completely caught out by that Death Blossom, took them by surprise, Sneaky Reaper, and that shuts them right down. That still wasn't actually a third squeeze through either.
That's really important. That was a big fight because that was the one fight where Blank are going to come in and guarantee an EMP without a counter EMP. Now, if they're going to EMP, look, Mango Jai set up with his own. Even if Mango Jai dies second, he's going to come back with the respawners and get the EMP anyway. This is kind of how Blank defended against Hong Kong Attitude. Now, Hong Kong Attitude are on that sort of, they're in that position to repeat the same defensive success that Blank had.
Atar went onto the Pharaoh there and then swapped off immediately. The Pharaoh is a bit tricky because it's really weak to the EMP, and now he's actually lost a lot of time on charging this Reaper ultimate compared to K4, who just used a Death Blossom, need I remind you. Blank trying to get aggressive on this one, having a bit of a hard time with it. Yeah, good. EMP out by Hong Kong Attitude, but they aren't able to close off the kills just yet. Shailin uncontested, but here's the counter EMP now. So they shut down K4. Trill lost though. They're struggling on this one, forcing out the sound barrier, and these are even trades. These still favor Hong Kong Attitude, so unless the remaining members of Blank pull out something absolutely crazy, they're just going to have to retreat, take this one to the chin, and they only have a minute left.
Well, there's the pause coming out as well with 1 minute left. You need a minute just to talk about that last minute because it's just like, fellas, 3 minutes have gone, and by the way, there's only two fights because the first fight went off on 2 minutes. There was such a long extended fight where we expected 1/3. Now, the 1/3 would have been incredibly important because Hong Kong Attitude got that 1/3 off their initial push off I would say, bigger advantage. They came with 6 ultimates, better prepared the Sombra as well. This time around, you had less than 6 ultimates, but still a decent advantage and a massive commit out of Blank. When you commit that hard, you don't get the third. It's devastating.
Exactly.
And it costs you 2 minutes.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, that is this domino effect from that Widowmaker at the start. It was close to crossing the line, but it wasn't quite there. So what they had to do, I said they swapped at the right time. They absolutely did, because the Widow wasn't working. You can't just not cap out at all. But because they had to swap rather than not swapping at all, rather than having the right thing out the gate to begin with, they had to take one lost fight to even the playing field and then take a 1 fight. And that meant they didn't have the same kind of ultimate charge Hong Kong Attitude had when they snowballed into a third. And it's this knock-on effect from start to finish here now because of that Widowmaker pick and its failure to work. And it's not the fault of Blank necessarily, because it did actually do quite well. It's just Hong Kong Attitude reacted to it and it didn't quite get over the line. And it's cost them. That is why it is a risk-reward strategy. This is what happens when the risk is too great and it doesn't pay off.
Atar's on his 4th hero of the match as well. We're 1 map in. Atar's played 4 heroes, so I don't know what the Pharaoh was in the middle. I think you weren't too sure what the Pharaoh was either. And it was a bit of an interesting
it's so hard countered by EMP. So hard countered.
Yeah. Yes and no.
You lose all your mobility. I don't even think you can use a concussive grenade.
I think it affects most DPSs. I think the only DPS that's the least affected is Soldier, because you can you're just normal anyway.
You're already playing
the biggest Tracer's worse affected than Tracer. Tracer's worse affected than Pharaoh, and actually Reaper is badly affected as well, because you rely on the Wraith form to really save yourself from bad situations. I want to speak to the Widow quickly, because what Blank needed was a bunker buster strat. What they did was, you're going to force Hong Kong Attitude inside a closed sort of location on that sort of health pack room. K4 was hiding in there. CQB was there with the turret. And Blank could not break through.
And on the fight where they committed to it, the turret killed like 2 people. So here we go. This is the last couple of dominoes potentially falling here in favor of Hong Kong Attitude. Yeah, Gunba changed. So I do actually quite like this. This counter Sombra wasn't really working for them. And I think they do just need to hello.
Okay, never mind. What was that? Just want to scare me for a sec.
I think he may have been in pilot form there. I think that might have been what it was.
That makes sense.
That would be the only
logical
explanation.
Atar was in pilot form, so he changed to Pharaoh.
Otherwise, that was the only logical explanation. Otherwise, that was a terrible idea, and he gave up ult charge for nothing.
Oh, that's exactly what happened when you ran Widow at the start. So it's tough, but we're sort of...
All right. 20 seconds. They're out of time. They've got to go.
EMP as well here.
Yeah, they've got to go. They've got to brawl through this EMP. EU up already using the recall there. He's not really able to get in a position. They're trying to get onto this one. There's the EMP out. Eat up goes aggressive onto the back line. Unfortunately, goes wide with the pulse bomb. Jin Kao cuts them off at the neck, and you can't regrow that one. A Ting gets picked out there on the trade back, but that is not quite enough. That is absolutely that absolute lockdown. Hong Kong Attitude are going to take us minimum map 4, maximum map 5, but they are now poised to take this off Blank, causing their second major upset of the tournament.
And they are leading. They're leading Blank. That's a big deal. So
this is exactly how they beat HQ. This is exactly how they beat HQ.
Yeah.
They lost the first one, and then suddenly pulled out 3.
So here's the thing about Hong Kong Attitude is, this was, I would say, if you're a betting man, the most expected win, because it's Assault.
Yeah.
You know Blanca, they're not super favored on Assault, blah, blah, blah. It's the usual story for Blanca, fortunately. And I'm sure they're still working on that, and that's fine. But this was, if you were going to win any map, you were most likely going to win this one.
By the way, that's the first time I've ever seen a Sombra play of the game.
And what you really missed out on there is, what you really want is the Sombra intro where it's someone else's play the game, and she sort of hijacks it. We're not going to see it, unfortunately. It's a bit rare. It's almost as rare as an Ana play of the game. You never get it.
Well, you do that creepy sleep.
That's why everyone's a Mercy man, because you get to play the games.
That by the way,
that's not the real reason.
That Ana one where like the highlight intro where she puts you to sleep is terrifying with the Tal skin. It's already a little uncanny. It's a traditional,
I like it with the Halloween skin, actually.
It's a traditional Korean mask. It looks really cool, but man, it looks terrifying in that intro.
All right, well, let's take a look at the updated sort of scoreline here, 2-1. Wow,
boy,
this is crazy coming out from Hong Kong Attitude.
This is rough for Blank as well. They've secured a playoff spot, but this is what they're going to carry into that now. Being taken to game 4, maybe game 5.
I'll tell you what, this is the sort of... So Blank and HQ came into this as equal scoreline into the last round robin. AHQ only one down for Blank because they lost to Hong Kong Attitude. So look, if Blank loses to Hong Kong Attitude, suddenly you're best buddies with AHQ again, and now you're neck and neck, and that's very scary for Blank to be back in.
And I kind of touched on this as well. That Blank are also in another sense ahead. They dropped more games than AHQ have dropped across this round robin because they had a very rough run there. They've only just surpassed them now because they beat AHQ, which you'd think, okay, in the head-to-head, that means they're better than AHQ. Sure, all right. But if you lose to Hong Kong Attitude, you are relying on AHQ to also lose to Hong Kong Attitude. Sure, it's happened before, but you can bet your bottom dollar AHQ are going to be working overtime to make sure it doesn't happen again.
I actually, looking back on history now, if Blank and AHQ finish on the same scoreline again, AHQ gets second place. They do. Because AHQ have won against Blank 3-0, 3-0. Blank's record is a 3-0 against AHQ and a 3-2.
Exactly.
So that means
the map record counts.
That means the map record is so much better for AHQ. It is so much more dangerous for Blank. This is a much tougher position for them to be in. As much as I say AHQ can sort of in this position where they can afford to drop afford to drop matches, that they're not going to get knocked out of playoffs. I mean, look, Blank can't sort of. They can't cruise on by either. They got to be just as vigilant to try and they got to be vigilant to try and maintain their position as second.
Yeah, exactly. Look, this night is like delivering and more. After last weekend, where we were like, yes, look, Blank, they are resurgent, they are back. They had some, if you will, testers against some of the lower ranked teams before they had to come up against, Flash Wolves and AHQ and Machi, and then they really took it to all three of those teams. Beat HQ and Machi. We're the closest anyone has come to taking out Flash Wolves for 2 round robins now. And now this. Now this against Hong Kong Attitude. First of all, this says that, what we saw with Hong Kong Attitude being HQ is not a fluke. Hong Kong Attitude are looking strong. They are looking resurgent. They are, if this was a longer tournament, they are top 3 material.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, they just can't.
So would Machi.
Yeah, there isn't the time to get it over the line. That's the unfortunate thing.
Let's extend the tournament by another 2 round robins.
Well, yeah, why not?
6 round robins.
Spicy, man, spicy. Well, hey, season 2 was just announced recently, coming up in August.
Exactly.
Yeah, Hong Kong Attitude have got that. They'll be excited for that one, like marking off the days on their calendar.
You almost want to restart the season a little bit because this is the most competitive we've seen across the board.
This is thrilling.
For everybody, actually, just for everybody, because everybody has improved. So we're going to go to Dorado like you predicted.
Boys.
And it's not unexpected.
Of course not.
If Blank go to map 4, they typically go to Dorado if it's their pick.
Yeah.
Usually other teams would go to maybe other teams pick Gibraltar. Maybe some teams are weird. They pick Route 66. Who does that?
Weirdos.
Who's strange, man? Don't even. What is that?
Route 66. Who even is Big Earl? I've never seen him in that store. There isn't even a counter in Big Earl's. I think it's like
self-service.
It's a front. It's a front for the Deadlock Gang. They money launder through Big Earl's.
I just thought it was a self-service station, which is all the rage.
Actually, it is set in the future, so that would make sense. Exactly. Big Earl is just a really large Omnic.
Yeah.
It's a fat robot.
Right.
Can you imagine how awful that would be? You're a humanoid robot, but someone manufactures you so that you're obese?
No, you know what it would be is if you were actually a very small robot, but you're called Big Earl. So that's something that happens as well.
It's like ironic.
But it is going to be
better if you were a robot made of iron.
I do want to talk about the matchup a little bit because this is danger zone for Blank. And the last time I can't even remember when was the last time we saw Blank in this situation. They did pull it out pretty strongly on Dorado. So this is a pretty.
It was against HQ.
It was a very reliable map. It's a very reliable map for Blank, and I expect Blank to be able to be quite favoured here, and then a map 5 would be rather exciting because
back to Escort.
That would be
and it's Hong Kong Attitude
hybrid.
You're right, hybrid. So that's the thing. Even if Blank can take it out here, which we do kind of expect, this is where that home side advantage really kicks in. We go back to hybrid, and whereas last time it was Blank's pick, it went to Numbani, a favoured map for them, which they lost. Now it would get to be Hong Kong Attitude's pick, which. They don't have to go to Numbani. It's already off the table. You could go to really wherever you want.
They can't go to Numbani.
Exactly. You don't have to go to Kings Row. You don't have to anything. You actually have the ball completely in your end of the court.
You're a grown man and you can do what you want. You don't have to do anything.
But
you don't.
Blank have to actually win this.
Absolutely.
There is now a question mark over that. Much like how that end zone looks like a question mark, now there's a question mark over the map.
Well, the thing is that Blank are not favoured on Assault, but they are favoured on Escort. It's one of those things, and we don't see enough Escort. They're super favoured on Control, and I would even go as far as to say they're very well favoured on Escort, maybe even rivaling the Control. But because we don't see enough Escort out of Blank, It is a little bit hard to say, and that speaks a lot to Blank's ability to close out games before we even reach the escort. So there it is.
Yeah, it's really kind of funny, isn't it? Because one of the weaknesses they seem to have on Numbani is after that cart first gets moving, which is the part that is most akin to escort. Need I remind people? I mean, that's the other half of hybrid. So they are really good on defense on plane escort, especially on Dorado. So that is kind of an interesting thing there. It speaks, if you will, to how often they actually first hold on Numbani.
Did you see where Trill is?
I did indeed see.
Check it out. He's actually on that right, so you can see a silhouette right now. So they're going to go for an aggressive play here.
Last thing I just want to touch on, though, is Hong Kong Attitude actually are quite good at this momentum-based gameplay themselves. We also saw that on Numbani, so here we go. Trill off to the side. Let's see what he's able to catch, how much he's able to take Hong Kong Attitude by surprise. Already well reacted to, and actually is now getting routed out. He's in a lot of trouble. He does go down, and this is that momentum-based gameplay.
Eat-Up was late.
Yeah, very late. He does catch a ting between him and Atar that kind of pincer him in, but look, the space has been created. The payload's still underway, and look, Blank are actually being forced back to the courtyard here anyway.
Oh, yeah. That was super awkward because Trill went in and Kiki was up there matrixing. As he does, that's okay. You're going to try and keep him alive, which ironically didn't keep him alive. But Eat-Up, like, where was that guy? Because it's meant to be a 1-2 punch. You use your Winston, you use your Tracer together, but Eat-Up just kind of didn't show up. Stood him up on the first date.
Yeah, typical. A ting, though, he's actually really low. Hong Kong Attitude's divers are having a really hard time on this one getting through the archway. This is actually where Blank really shine. They're great at shutting down the dive here, catching Jin Kao's mech, routing out a ting as well. They might even be able to close off on Jin Kao. There we go, catching K4 of all people. Oh, that is a great one for them. And yeah, like I said, this is where Blank really shine.
That was a tough situation because you see the health bars, everyone, they couldn't even get healed up in time. Shailen was low, Ting was low. Both of your backline divers, both of your massive pressure heroes.
And you're like ones in Yada, you're like, where do I even put the orb?
Yeah. I got like 7 other orbs floating around my neck. Can I make use of that or what?
Can I just like...
Can I use these?
Doesn't have enough nanobots to make it work. Jin Kao, oh, that's... Hello?
How?
That's a headshot and a half. That's a huge open because that was right as he got his mech back.
Jeff's like, here, have your mech.
Yeah, fine.
I'll give you a mech for that.
That was huge. Atar is now struggling with this tactical visor. Does catch a ting, but the trade back is already there for Gunber, and K4 is now on this backline, able to open up with the Dragon Blade, hunting for Atar, does find him. Trade back is there for Trill, but the payload still underway. And Hong Kong Attitude, they don't actually need much more to get a cap through. They will take this fight loss on the chin here, but they've broken through the archway. They can now do that again.
Where is the... I was actually quite surprised Trill lived as long as he did. He's actually still alive, which means Blank can get this counter contest in. Transcendence from RQT as well, which means, you know, they're not looking to back out.
Hong Kong Attitude, they didn't commit, nor did they back out. They are kind of turning it around here once again because K4 has got those 2 kills through. Kiki back into the mech, though, does make it a little bit harder. Good sticky out from Shaolin, doesn't quite close it off, but he's forcing Trill back out of the fight. Kiki, having got back in the mech, is about to have to climb back out of it, and his legs are exhausted, and they are going to push this cap through. That was a very odd commit, actually, out of both teams, but it does end up paying off for Hong Kong Attitude, and now we can see that momentum-based gameplay once again starting to shine for them.
Yep, and the momentum goes in the favor of Hong Kong Attitude because Blank end up feeding the ultimates. They'll trade that for time bought. So they've really valued the amount of time they can get from the stall there, which is okay. Like I can sort of see that. This is going to be a dangerous period for Blank to be in because they died so late and the cap was so quick. Hong Kong Attitude, they're quick. They can get super early aggressive positioning. Shailen's already there. He doesn't have pulse bomb, so a little bit dangerous. He has to really be able to commit with both K4 and a Ting to get anything done here.
Yeah, that would have been really big if he had got the pulse bomb because he would have been able to commit it onto Gunber. But the dive comes in from Trill, counter dive immediately by a Ting, and a great catch on Atar. They're already looking poised to break this defense, and that allows Shaolin to go aggressive as well. They pressure Blank off this high ground. These 2 healers in DBS are really caught this low ground. Good catch onto K4 means that Blank probably won't get too badly mopped up here, but the payload is underway anyway. They aren't really able to take huge advantage of this high ground. Good catch onto RQT there, and now they are getting the pressure down. Blank are sort of stalling this, but they need a...
Transcendence forced.
Yeah, it does force Transcendence. Very nicely done there, but losing Kiki's mech and now the man himself means that actually that Transcendence will really pay off, even though it was forced out because Hong Kong Attitude will make some room.
It's not ideal for Mango Dry. I think this is another situation where Eat-Up is so commanding with pressure that Mango's like, I can't afford to die here, and rightfully so, because if he dies, this could have been a lot of pressure off from Hong Kong Attitude. Now they can continue the momentum. Nano Visor from Blank should be the answer.
Oh, good catch early, catching Jin
Goodbye,
Kao.
Atar.
Yeah, Trill able to try to take that one out, but there we go. K4 getting aggressive on that means no visor, no CERN. He opens up with the Dragon Blade. Good sound barrier forced out, and then Anubis goes on to the Winston. Very nice reaction there, but he catches Gunba too, and Trill now has to get way too much work done. Everyone is able to avoid Kiki's self-destruct as well. Hong Kong Attitude still underway. Shaolin largely uncontested, and now there's a big ask on Eat You Up. Look at how well they're controlling this entire courtyard space. Blake can't get into position. They're dominating the high ground, catches Eat You Up as he guns for the health pack.
Oh my.
Hong Kong Attitude poised to get a cap through, and the momentum continues. These guys are looking nigh unstoppable.
This card is pretty much not stop moving. And much like Numbani, the Streets phase is the cleanest out of Hong Kong Attitude. The first cap, a little bit not that great. Second cap though, fantastic. Man. Now we're on to the third. Is this going to have to be another miracle situation where Hong Kong Attitude get the best sleep of their lives? Don't even have Anna this time around, so they've got to look for other options. They've been doing a great job so far, but this is where I believe Blank should be able to bunker up. They should be able to hunker down here and really get the defense into action.
This is where all that effort to run down the clock on point 1 has to start paying off. There is only 2.5 minutes, which is quite achievable.
That's a start.
And that is a great start indeed. Eat You Up, going real hunter-killer on the backline, runs down the clock even further. This is how Blank want to play this last point, but they have let the cart go a very long way.
They absolutely have, but this is the first time Hong Kong Attitude have been truly stopped up, at least following the initial cap on through on the first on A point anyway. Mango Jai crucially died with Transcendence there, so there was maybe the option that he commits it, but didn't want to commit it super early on without good cart movement.
They were in position.
Can't see the cart, so the cart's right below where Kiki's standing here, so I can sort of understand that. You want to be able to commit in a sort of period where you get a decent amount of free push that you actually threaten to camp out, so that's when you want to ideally commit ults.
Good commit by K4 to try and knock out Atar with that. Oh wow, they actually commit to it. He get caught by the self-destruct, and they're trying to clean up a few more with that, but he's not really able to find anyone, so that's kind of two ultimates.
Awkward dash.
Yeah, a little bit awkward because that's 2 ultimates used to kind of kill the one guy, but they do keep this payload moving. Kiki, good stall out, will allow some respawns to come in, gets Atar back in it, and Eat You Up will be able to come back out, but this is good movement from the payload. Shaolin, if he can get a good pulse bomb, could just kind of cut off the reinforcements here. He's trying to go for it.
Dodge the sleep.
Yeah, dodge the sleep. Has to use the recall, and he is going to be forced back from this, but the payload is nearly there. It's nearly over the line. Blank have to pile onto it. Nano Boost already out onto Atar with that visor, but he's getting blocked up by Jin Kao.
Nice
They're
play.
not able to push it through, and it gets completely negated. K4 catches Trill now on the aggressive. The sound barrier is run out. Atar, he may get out with his life, just barely does, but he still has to find a way to contest the payload. Kiki has opened up the window for them, and Eat You Up closing out on Jin Kao. There we go. They are just barely going to hold on. That was super, super dicey.
Actually, I want to see a bit more patience for Shaolin because he had a pulse bomb opportunity. If he didn't sort of reveal himself so early, he was very eager to get an entry kill there. He could have probably waited for the fight to start, then go probably Gumba, maybe even RQT towards the end there. Atar would have been perfect. Atar was actually nicely blocked up by a Ting. I think a Ting carried the majority of the weight of the fight for Hong Kong Attitude. Usually, that's on the back of K4. This time it was a Ting getting the kill into Gumba himself, but not big enough shoulders.
Not quite. Now clock running low for Hong Kong Attitude. Like we said, this is where Blank's committal to running down the clock early starts to pay off. They only have to hold out for a couple of key defenses here, and they are looking poised to do that.
Here we go.
Early commit out of K4, and the sleep dart goes wide. He's looking to go deep now onto the back line. Good trade back onto a Ting, and he can't quite find the healers. Blade gets put away, and he's got no one to retreat back to, but he has to stick onto this cart. The overtime is going to start. Doesn't catch the kill through. All he got was RQT, and yeah, now it's on to Shaolin, who is already low on health. Mango Jai out of the picture. Shaolin is going to have a hard time staying topped off. The pulse bomb goes wide from Eat You Up, but they've got the payload on lockdown. Hong Kong Attitude successfully repelled. Nothing going to come out of Shaolin. A brief second of catching overtime there to extend it out, but there's no one here to extend it any further. Blank are going to be able to hold this one. A lot of distance on it, so they still have a hard ask on their own offense, but a good held defense on the third point.
And this looks just like Temple of Anubis, or a little, actually that little bit of movement.
That may be it. Hold on.
Good.
Have I spoken to? Oh, just barely. K4. It just goes to show you can't afford to step off this one, and the sound barrier stalling it for Blank. Does look similar to Anubis. You're right, but the catch onto Mango Jai. It's not quite over for Blank, but they are still in a comfortable enough spot despite losing Atar. K4 forced back once again. They only need to win it here, ever so slightly. Just force a few more people off, and they do get it through. There we go. Whew, little longer than expected.
I was going to say, you were like, well, I think it's over. No, actually, no.
Yeah,
it's not.
hold on.
Hong Kong Attitude, they got a crucial 1 meter towards the end there, so every single bit of distance counts. It's kind of like getting a couple extra percentage points on that Anubis, and the reason you know, in terms of what it looks like, is Anubis was 96.4%. This is the card nearly at the cap at the end as well. So
yeah, we won't get time bank, but it is functionally a full cap.
So for Hong Kong Attitude, they're sort of in the same position again, where, you know, by the way, they attacked first, so now on their defense, they have a very set goal. This is exactly where we need to play to. And like I kind of said as well for Blank, they bunkered up at that third cap. This is where they were going to make their stand.
Yeah.
If you are any team that you're going to make a stand anywhere, the third cap is pretty much exactly where it happens. So that last fight, though, one of the few last fights for Hong Kong Attitude, unfortunately, K4 couldn't get much done with Dragon Blade. Shailin, super low, wasn't able to fight as well, and then eventually, you know, everyone just came on out.
And it was actually all very well dealt with. It very much felt like Hong Kong Attitude weren't able to execute on really anything they were trying to do, so very well played by Blank. The big difference between this, though, in Temple of Anubis is, on Temple of Anubis, it is very static. You can set up your defense, the enemy team has to play into this. This much more mobile kind of thing, I feel like Hong Kong Attitude aren't as strong on these highly mobile defenses as they are on the more static ones. And we also know Blank's momentum-based gameplay, Hello Winston, is absolutely phenomenal. So, sorry for dropping in, but oh god, this is a joy.
It is probably a real threat too. He can actually drop in. This is as much as we laugh,
and then apologize.
As much as we laugh, he
Canadian
can actually drop in here and get that initial drop damage. So it's actually, excuse me, very effective.
Yeah, so anyway, I suppose the overall of the point here is Blank are very well favored on this offense. The team doesn't quite catch that double drop damage, and now he's a little bit cut off, needs to be careful not to trill himself here, is able to retreat, there we go.
Trip up.
Hello, catch Kiki's mech, there we go, underway.
So already a very quick sort of, I guess from both sides getting sort of even trades here. This is going to be Blank coming out way ahead, I believe, because K4 and CQB going down is shared force out of 4 on retreat.
Yeah, they may be able to regroup.
You can't hide in that bush.
Oh dear, yeah, they may be able to retreat in this, regroup in this archway. Jin Kao having to kind of juke the shurikens there, but the cart's already through the archway. They catch a on the back end of that one anyway, and Jin Kao had to go into full retreat. This is Hong Kong Attitude not actually regroup.
And too many stagger kills.
Like I said, this is where we see they're a little bit weaker on that mobile defense compared to the static one. A good sleep onto Kiki, but the payload's through anyway. The time is going to be enormous here for Blank.
All right, they get a first pick out. They actually get a second pick out.
That was deflected.
Wow.
Atar's pulse spot.
Okay. Well, K4, that's one way to start things off.
I had to check, had to double take the kill feed. Am I reading that right? They commit in the nano boost as well to get the pressure onto Gunba, and it does pay off. First forces out the Transcendence, then they close out the kill. So actually, Hong Kong Attitude, they do find a spot to dig in their heels a little bit here, and now they can actually play to a bit more of a static defense, but that was very, very ropey.
I hope that's the play of the game, because I want to see K4 in action doing that.
First person.
That one play individually may have just saved Hong Kong Attitude. In fact,
and how many times have we said that about Hong Kong Attitude, by the way?
It did just save Hong Kong Attitude, but I'm just saying, maybe him as an individual, that one deflect was the setup for that entire defense, because wow, Blank should have capped. Blank should have absolutely capped off that.
Yeah, now early commit out of K4. Already catches RQT. They'll be happy to take that. Atar trade back. Gunba holds his ground, makes it work. And meanwhile, Atar is doing a lot more work on the front line. They've caught out the healers. All they've lost is Kiki's mech. Payload should be getting back underway here. Good stall by a Ting, but it only matters if you will actually get members respawning through. Jin Kao not able to get the self-destruct in time. And they are going to get this cap underway. Payload moving once again. No static defense for Hong Kong Attitude, and they are back on the back foot.
Yeah, well, it turns out, deflect aside, when it really comes, when push comes to shove, Blank do manage to get the push on at the end, and Gumbo, that 1v1 against K4, pretty critical, because K4 could have gotten the reset again, continued on with the sort of killing spree, I guess, that he had, but, really well played by Gumbo.
Yeah, good aggression on the side here by EDU. Very well measured. They're trying to pincer him a little bit between Shailin and CQB. But he's locking them both down. He's really wasting their time here, which is what Blank want to play for. They're getting the payload underway still, and now actually Hong Kong Attitude have to commit to this fight. A Ting goes down to the top of it. Good catch there. Forces out the Transcendence, but EDU up getting wild on the backline, taking out the other healer. Now, good trade back onto Gunba, but it's not really going to matter. Yeah, he did die with the Transcendence, which is a little unfortunate, but all the trades are coming up. Blank, the payload is still moving throughout all of this. And Hong Kong Attitude, like I said, struggle on this mobile defense. They struggle to commit to the fight at the right moment, and it does not pay off.
Well played by Blank. I mean, they see the target that they need to kill there, which was at the start, a Ting dropping really low. I saw the Discord orb on him, and I thought, well, this is a very difficult situation for a Ting to sort of play in. Jumps out, Trill follows, gets a kill, and then Eat Up turns on the heat. Pulse Bomb kill into a double. I mean, this is exactly what you expect out of a Tracer.
They're looking to get this over the line with, somewhere in the
Spawn
ballpark
camp
of
as well.
5 to 6 minutes left. And yeah, Spawn Camp indeed. ATAR going aggressive. Self-destruct to stop any reinforcements as they catch K4 with that as well for good measure. They catch CQB with the blade itself. And look, they'll be happy for that to be all they get. They do commit Gunbus Transcendence. I don't know if that was necessary, but it does allow them to push it through in a much safer way. It's a more guaranteed fight win, and they do get it over the line, like I said, with a very handy time in the pack pocket.
Absolutely. This is looking so much better for Blank than it was for Hong Kong Attitude. And Hong Kong Attitude have barely, they've not been able to sort of make any defense work so far. So kind of like Blank and their defense, this is going to be the position for Hong Kong Attitude to finally be able to get that defense they're looking for. Specifically, they have the ultimates to do it. So they've been pushed back so far. They've been losing so many fights without having to counter commit ultimates in there. They're now in the position where they can.
Yeah, but once again, unlike Blank, they hadn't actually bled down the clock. K4 able to go aggressive, catching RQT. Closes out on Gunba as well between him and
I don't know about that Primal.
He barely gets out. Yeah, that was a very interesting commit there out of Trill. I think they would maybe just been better off taking it on the chin. But in any case, that is Hong Kong Attitude finding a moment to find their feet. And that was actually very well timed, where they'd struggled on time in the defense before. They actually really executed the right time.
And exactly where the cart was for Blank when they were defending.
Exactly.
So this is a repeat of Blank's defense almost, where
Just with a minute
momentum is
more.
gone, and that momentum loss is really important for Hong Kong Attitude to be able to hold on, because static defense, this is where you have that static defense.
Exactly. And once again now, because Trill actually committed that Primal Rage, they don't have that extra tool, that extra stalling tool indeed. They had to charge up a few more ultimates, and they're having to do so under fire. ATAR really hard pressured here, has to dash to get away. Charlene does unfortunately go wide with the Pulse Bomb, and this is now the window for Blank to commit. The sound barrier does flag that. Good catch by Jin Kao to get Gunba, no Transcendence out, and they're not actually getting these trade kills through. All they've got so far is CQB, and this is going to be a commit from K4. Has to use the deflect early. ATAR getting much more mileage, so there was a window for both teams, and Blank are the one who make more out of it. They're getting Jin Kao now. If we're going to force him out of the mech here, surely any second. There it goes, and the pilot as well. Good catch by ATAR. Payload underway. HKA. No one seems to be here to contest it, at least not in any significant fashion. Charlotte, he's going to try and duck and weave around it. The team is flooding out the gates, but here's Gunba regrouped with the Transcendence. Good catch on to eat you up. They're not out of the woods yet here, Blank.
Still a decent amount of Hong Kong Attitude members alive. They get that second respawn wave, which is so
good catch
important.
on Gunba.
That's a really nice corner trap as well. So they get even trades. This is now the same situation when we look at Assault, and we're saying even trades are not good enough. If Hong Kong Attitude can get kills, which they are, they should be able to defend.
And cutting off both the healers means it doesn't matter if Kiki is still on the point. No one is going to top him up, and he will go down here. He's just overwhelmed. Even if Hong Kong Attitude members kind of die here, it's trickled, it's staggered, they get the regroups in. Trill is kind of committing very deep here again without healers, but they're able to stay alive. They kind of get Hong Kong Attitude caught with their pants down a little bit, with the healers now regrouped for Blank. K4 has to get a ton of work with this blade, but he's
Missing
struggling. Can't even get Trill. Missing every swing, and it's a trade kill. They do get a couple of others on the front line, luckily for them, and Hong Kong Attitude may just still hold on through that one, but Blank nearly caught them unawares.
All right, we're about to get to that 1 minute mark again. The same 1 minute mark we were sitting at a Temple of Anubis, and ATAR's going to change onto the Soldier. Wants to go for the setup play with I guess on the high ground there. No ultimates is a big factor in Blank. They may not actually have time to charge anything up, at least with Hong Kong Attitude. A good nano boost should be able to still get a decent amount of damage done, particularly if you're going to use it on the Ting. And Jin Kao, look, he's been doing a couple of decent self-destructs already, so I expect something good here.
And he's already looking for the position. They noticed ATAR is on
Blank
the Soldier
committed
as well. Blank are very hard committed, and they're going for it. Trill able to catch K4, and unfortunately the nano boost was already committed onto a Ting. He didn't get enough for it. Blank now on the aggressive. Good sleep onto Kiki, but it doesn't last long enough. A Ting trying to get funky on the back line now, but ATAR, no nonsense.
Yeah, they need
with that
ATAR.
one. There we go, Gunba, good catch, and now they're going to look for a corner trap on someone. But is it maybe a Ting who is the hunter, becoming the hunted here? They're still all the members alive, and Blank are getting forced back. They get ATAR. The self-destruct is out from
10 seconds.
Kiki, yeah, 10 seconds. They've got to get on this one. Trill can stall, but Hong Kong Attitude, they have the position around this.
Oh boy, there's only 4 members alive, a couple respawners, RQT goes down as well. This is the kind of disaster scenario I'm talking about. Trill, RQT, then going down,
They lost the mech.
still coming,
They're
no
out.
mech.
It doesn't matter that their Primal Rage could stall because this second Nano Burst onto a Ting, a lot more mileage gain. They don't get it over line. And in an exact repeat of their victory over over AHQ, Hong Kong Attitude are looking to push it over the line against Blank in their second major upset of the closing weeks of the tournament. It is only a few members left from Blank, desperately trying to contest. It is all trickles on. Maybe Ichua pulls out something crazy, but he is going to have to stall for years on this one. A great catch to secure it, and they do it!
I like to call it a trickle tickle because that's exactly how it feels with the Blank members getting back in there. Look at this, Hong Kong Attitude are ecstatic. They've been looking for this victory over the top teams for so long, and now coming into the 4th and final round robin, they beat AHQ, they beat Blank. The only team they could not overcome was in fact Flash Wolves, and if you're Hong Kong Attitude right now, still got your match against Machi coming up later on in this weekend, this is the best you've ever looked as a team.
If anything, you almost feel hard done by that you can't get into playoffs anymore because if you're Hong Kong Attitude, you've got to feel like you deserve it. The unfortunate thing is they didn't beat these teams earlier in the tournament, but my goodness, what a story for this team. Skyrocketed into 4th place, the gatekeeper of that, and could never quite get it over the line against those top 3 teams. Then lost 4th place to Machi, and now they have swung back. They have swung back hard, and we said if there was a little bit more tournament left to go, this is a playoffs team. The playoffs teams, the ones that are actually going to make it into playoffs, do not look as good as Hong Kong Attitude right now, and they have to fix that come playoffs or Flash Wolves are going to whitewash.
You know what? This is... Oh man, it almost feels like a little bit of a Cinderella story coming out from Hong Kong Attitude because they started out decent, look 4th place, then they dropped so hard in the 2nd and 3rd round robin, they kind of just disappeared. Machi took their place and usurped them there a little bit. Well, but, you know, credit to Machi because they had a fantastic surgeon.
I mean, they kind of had a Cinderella story of their own.
Exactly.
In that run.
It's like 2 princesses in one fairy tale, and you don't know.
Just by the way, because of this win now, doesn't matter. Well, actually, it does a little bit, but assuming Hong Kong Attitude and Machi now pick up the same wins throughout the rest of this tournament, even if Machi actually win the head-to-head when these 2 teams meet, Hong Kong Attitude will actually come out on top. They will be 2 for 2, and Hong Kong Attitude will have a better record against AHQ and Blank because Machi have already lost to Blank this round robin. They cannot get that win, and Hong Kong Attitude would take 4th place.
Yeah, so Machi now, unfortunately for them, I don't know if they can, like you're right, this is now their hopes for 4th kind of darted. What Machi can do is they can upset AHQ, which would kind of give Blank the upper hand again. So this is now, if you're Blank, you are no longer in control of where you sit in the playoffs. You're currently still 2nd, but only because you played more games than AHQ, but your fate is out of your hands.
Yeah, and I will say as well, they weren't doing what AHQ were doing in their most recent games where the playoff spot was secured. They were trying things out. They're, I won't say experimenting, but they are obviously trying new things. They're trying to see what will and won't work in an actual competitive environment, you know, kind of moving what they've obviously been practicing in scrims into real matches. Blank weren't doing that. They were playing normally, they were playing properly, and they lost. They lost fair and square.
Yeah.
And I would actually argue Hong Kong Attitude beat AHQ fair and square as well. This was before AHQ started doing that, you know, a bit of that experimental play. So look, Hong Kong Attitude, they look strong. AHQ and Blank have shown weakness. That is weakness that the other will both take advantage of. But this is really worrying for Blank, who just looked so good against Flash Wolves despite the loss.
Exactly, because look, Flash Wolves did not. They didn't just lose to Hong Kong Attitude. They didn't look, even when we actually look back on that, even when we look at you know, the history between Flash Wolves and Hong Kong Attitude, they've never really looked challenging to Flash Wolves. And to be fair, Hong Kong Attitude for a long time have not looked super challenging. That first round robin, 3-2 versus Blank, well rather 2-3 versus Blank. And ever since then, if you're Hong Kong Attitude, you feel like, oh man, we may have just lost out. We just couldn't get there over the line against Blank, and now you finally do, which is great for them.
And that's why it's so great, because after that, I mean, we called it the infamous Game 5, and it was one of the few series in this entire tournament, actually, that has gone to a Game 5. And you're right, Hong Kong Attitude, they couldn't quite get it over the line. And they've carried that with them now throughout round robins 2 and 3, where they lost 0-3 to Blank. Even when Blank were dropping Assault consistently, Hong Kong Attitude couldn't even take that off them. But this has been a 3-1, a deserved 3-1. The only thing they lost was control, which we feel is Blank's strongest game type. But to lose everything else That's terrifying for Blank.
And we sort of got to be in the position to say now, Escort, is it really that good for Blank? I think it's good, but is it really that good? Because Escort is no longer a place for Blank where they can say, well, we can sort of rely on Escort. Like we can for Control, we're pretty safe in Control. You can just kind of expect we're just going to be better here. Escort, you think you're going to be better. Unfortunately, it didn't really happen. And what I think is great about this entire series is how sort of the storyline of the series, which was when you look at especially Temple of Anubis and Dorado sort of back to back, it's like the same game twice in a row.
Yeah.
Like literally the events of the game just felt like the exact same thing.
Exactly. And there's this interesting thing going on here as well with Numbani, where actually they had lost Numbani to both of the other top 3 teams. They had most recently beaten AHQ and Numbani, if I'm not mistaken. May have been on Kings Row. I may just need to double check that. But more importantly, not only had you lost it to the other top 3 teams, this is a map we had honestly, like coming into the tournament, we go, yeah, this is Blank's map. We laughed when Detonator picked it against them in the first week, like, haha, these children do not know. But suddenly, a non-top 3 team, non-top 3 team has also beaten you on that. This isn't your map anymore. Doesn't matter if you can sometimes beat AHQ. It's not your map anymore. This is an even playing field.
By the way, I think you pointed something out very important, which is this is the first time Blank have lost to a team outside the top 3.
Yeah.
They are now kind of joined that club because AHQ, look, they dropped the Honkai.
Not a club you want to be in, by the way.
Well, every other team's been there. So Flash Hills have dropped the Machi.
You're quite right. Yeah.
AHQ dropped the Honkai Attitude, and now also Blank dropped the Honkai Attitude. So
that would have been one thing they would have otherwise had in playoffs.
Exactly. Every team now in that top 3 has dropped a match to someone outside the top 3 at some stage or another. So it kind of evens things up across the board, which is not good if you're Blank, but otherwise pretty great for the other teams.
And what it does also say as well, as much as it can't really be reflected in the standings anymore, a lot of these teams are in much more of a striking distance from one another than it may seem.
Let's take a look at this play of the game. Goes to K4.
For that deflected pulse bomb.
Which by the way was super sick, and I wanted to see that as a play of the game because that's one of those moments where I don't know about once in a lifetime.
Okay, it'll be in his highlights. So someone
once in a Genji lifetime.
Someone tweet at K4 before he's probably already logged out by now. You could get him to pull up the highlight because if you log out, it'll clear it.
I don't think he uses Twitter.
Could have got it, but well, in any case, the window's been lost.
All right, let's take a look at now the winner's interview with Shaolin. Shall interview over?
好，你好，你好。哎，其实刚刚你们赢了嘛？
So
那
you
刚
just
刚
won?
其实，在比赛前呢，你有
So
听
before
到
the
就
match?
是对方的教练跟你们的
So Serenity kind of
那
gave you a bit of
你觉得
shade before the
对于
match?
你赢了，你对于他刚
How do
刚
you feel about
有什么
his comments
要
now?
反省的吗？
反正他们就是爽。
就是爽，就这样子。
I feel like
你刚刚没有听到他们讲的吗？他说你们对于排名，这是
actually
攸
no.
关奖金。
Sorry, I'm actually a little unsure about what he said there.
还好。
还好，就是好。那我其实我刚
He
刚
says
就
he's
是
fine
想问
about
说
it.
其实，在控制
He
地
doesn't
图
really
上啊
mind it too
然后
much.
你们用原式加闪光的刺客阵，那如果对上闪光加76阵型的话，
So on
哪
Lijiang,
一派会比较
you had Genji Tracer versus Soldier Tracer.
原式跟什么？
原是跟闪光比较有优势。
He says we
那
prefer
其
Genji
实在
Tracer.
努巴你的第二次
for the
防守
mobility.
的时候，你选择忍者是目的是为了什么？
So you played Genji on
只要
Numbani
他们抓
defense.
我们安娜的话，会比较好回去帮忙。
So I'm more mobile that I can help my Anna play if they go for Anna.
选择忍者，还是说其实没有想就想说哦，我就随便
没有啊，有想过。
有想法。
So yeah, was it something you thought about
其实
in
每
plan?
次
He says
你们
yes,
来啊
it is something
然后
we
在
plan
练
to
习的
do.
时候，其实都是蛮欢乐、蛮热闹
So
的一群团队。
You
然后
your team has a
刚刚
pretty
其实我在
positive
底下看
atmosphere in
你们
general.
其实你知道，连激动到你知道脏话都出来了，基本私底下会互相骂彼此嘛，比如说打
So-
不好或怎么样，
So do you get
打不好
does your team get quite aggressive?
会检讨
然后，在玩的话，应该就会互骂。
会互骂。好
Alright, so
好我们
we're
再
pretty
一次
friendly,
呢
but
都
when we're
写一
playing
些
against each other, if things aren't going well, you know, we do get a little bit aggressive towards each other. I think the specific question was, I could hear you guys swearing at each other. So he's saying like, yeah, in games, yeah, that kind of happens a little
Look,
bit. So.
I think those of us in OCE though are no strangers to that concept.
But they were
eh? Like
winning.
it's
That's the
almost endearing.
It's almost like we're swearing because we're winning. Like it's so amazing. Like yeah.
Yeah, we've all used that particular turn of phrase, I believe. Yeah, nothing
well.
wrong with it.
So there it is.
That was a ride. That was a ride from start to finish, and we said
Serenity.
exactly.
I got to feel bad for Serenity.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. He must feel like such an idiot now, eh? Like,
Well, I don't know
it
about that, but
well,
it's
no,
like,
because the
it's
Hong
just-
Kong attitude constantly say like, yeah, we don't feel like we're very good, don't feel like we're very good. They're like really, really humble, almost to the point of ridiculousness. And then Serenity's like, yeah, we're gonna beat you, and then looks like a fool. Like, oh man, you get like it makes you believe in karma. But look, that was a ride from start to finish. We kind of framed it at the top of that, what that would mean, a win for Hong Kong attitude and a loss for Blank, and now that's come to pass.
All right, let's take a look at the couch interview now. Serenity, Trill, and a
可以看
team.
到这边是 Blank 的 Chair，也以及他们的教练，请跟大家自我介绍并问个好。
Introduce yourselves.
我是 HK 的 A-Team，大家好。Hello, I'm True from Blank Esports.
你好，我是 Blank Esports 的教练。
对，今天有一个主题非常有趣，就是让你们互相问对方问题。
Oh, you can ask
因
each
为
other
每次都
questions.
是我问，然后大家都
So
觉得哇
usually I
这样
ask,
就掉
but
了
you guys can
所以
ask
今
each
天我
other.
们有一个主题，就是你准备一个问题，你可以问 Chair。
If you have a question for
Chair
Trill,
这边可以准备一个问题来问你，但是我们要透过
Trill can ask each other.
Jason 这边来帮我们翻译。想好这个问题了吗 ？OK。
我想问去哦，就是平常他的莱茵哈特都是怎么训练的？
How normally when you play, how do you practice Ryan?
I don't really have like practice like a routine or something I do with Reinhardt. I just sort of like how I started Reinhardt. I just only played him in scrims, and I literally never played him in ranked. I just only ever played in scrims, and then I'd play it in ranked a few times, but that's all. I just like play the game pretty much. There's like no special thing to it.
他是说最近他都没有在那个积分里面有玩莱茵的机会，所以都是玩其他角色。然后就是有时候团练赛的时候需要用莱茵的时候，他最近才会有接触莱茵的机会。
是，那等于是有一段时间没有用莱茵了。那现在他大部分还是确认应该是使用 D.Va 比较多吗？
现在是他现在是
Alright, so
主
the question was,
力
do you use much diva?
那这边也请
It
确
says
认
at the
让我
moment
们
no.
提问一个问题给阿婷。
question for 阿婷。
Does he actually enjoy playing main tank at all?
你担任主坦的位置，你会不会觉得这个主坦这个位置好玩吗？
打久的话，真的会很厌倦啊。
Playing for a long time gets boring.
你们还有准备其他问题吗？
我还有一个问题，
好
就是大家都知道罗纳提害的米罗星星强，那你觉得你跟他的星星差在哪里？然后米罗星星强在哪里？
Everyone knows that Lunatic High's Mirror has one of the best Winstons in the world. How do you compare your Winston to Mirror's, and why do you think Mirror is such a good Winston?
My Winston's actually better than his. He's probably second best in the world. I'm first, so you know. But I don't know. Like he knows everything about that hero. Like we've versed him a few times in scrims. Like he's literally amazing. Like he's the best Winston I've ever seen. Like he's so hard to kill. Every time we try to kill him in scrims, like he just knows the hero so well, how to get out, and he's just literally the best Winston in the world. Like I don't think anyone comes close to him.
他一开始是说其实世界上最厉害的温斯顿其实是他自己，然后 Mirror 才是第二名。但是说正点的话，就是我们跟他们团练过几次，他是觉得说 Mirror 的温斯顿，他对这个英雄的了解更深一层楼，然后就每次想要激活他的时候，他都会有逃跑的一个方案，所以怎么杀的话都杀不死。
对，那我们这边确认有没有问题要再反问一下阿婷
You got another question?
What does he rate himself as like a tank player in OPC, like against other tank players in OPC?
就是以这季这次 OPC 的主坦选手来讲的话，你觉得你的莱恩跟温斯顿是排第几名？
非常有趣的问题，这个问题很好。
这个问题有点难欸，因为每一队的主场都很强啊，我也不确定我排第几。
这时候一定要说是第一 ，Number One。对啊，
对啊，我要成为世界第一，当然是第一啊。
需要一点时间。那你觉得现在就认真来讲，可能有哪一些是跟你差不多的，或者是你觉得你还有一点时间超越他们？
闪电狼的 Junkie 吧，我觉得他的星星比较难超越一点，但是我会很努力达到这个目标的。
He thinks that he can't really place himself in the ranking in the OPC, but if you have to choose like the best tank player, he thinks it's going to be Jongi.
好，我这边准备一个问题，就是要问教练，因为今天的比赛
I have a question
对
for
你们来讲，我觉得，但在季后赛的一个状况不会有太大变化。
So this won't
但
change your
今天
standing
对
in the
上
playoffs.
HK 应
or
该
your-
是你们在过
actually getting
去
there.
从来没有输过的队伍。
But you
但
have
今天他
never
们
lost to
赢
Hong
了
Kong.
那但对你们来讲，也有可能在季后赛之前，你们可能想要练一点东西，或者是怎么样，还是
So,
你们其实也是很认真看待
How
这
does
场
this
比赛
affect？your
那
preparation
今
for
天
the
的比赛
playoffs before
输
then?
掉了，那你这边有什么想法？
So what are you going to do now since
我
you
们
lost?
针对季后赛做很多在做很多准
So
备
we're still preparing
所
for
以
playoffs
有一些
intensely.
东西是现在还不会拿出来的。
是
So we're
就
still
是
we're
就
still
算
not bringing
情
out
况有
some
点
of the
紧
things we
急
prepared.
像今天比赛还是输了，但是我们还是有一些还是有在常招。
So even though we've
但是
lost,
我
we've
们今
still
天也
got
可以
some
算是
things
轻
that we
敌
can
了
bring out.
但是今天 HK 表现非常优秀，让我
I
们
think
大开眼界。
I think Hong Kong attitude
哇，这边
we're
恭
very
喜
good today, and that
获
really
胜了
opens
今天
our
应该
eyes.
蛮高兴的啊，有没有什么话想要发表一下？
Ting, did you have anything to say
胜利的
about
感言。
how you feel
胜
after
利的
today?
感言就是第一次，就是我们4次对战，第一次赢了他们，真
It's
的
first time
蛮
being
开
them
心
in
的。
4 matches. I'm very happy
对，等
about
一下会不
that.
会去庆祝一下？
You're going to relax
不
when
一
you
定
get
要
home.
看教练。
I don't know. I'll have to ask my coach.
It's their fourth time playing against us in the fourth round robin. This is the first time that they actually beat us, and they're very happy.
那么，对，那这边我们很感谢2位还有教练接受我们的访问，那我们就跟观众朋友说再见喽。
Oh, there it is. So, you know,
See you.
that was pretty cool. They interviewed each other a little bit there, so interesting to get
Bit
their
more
thoughts.
insight, back and
But interesting tidbit that we got out of that. Serenity did say, look, while they did lose, they got a couple of extra things they prepared for the playoffs specifically.
Yeah, I think that's quite fair actually.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a little bit of a recap at what we've seen so far. Hong Kong Attitude 3-1 against. 3-1 against Blank Esports, and we've still got coming up after this break. It's going to be Detonator Gold in the home position versus Flash Wolves as the away team. It's going to be a tough one for Detonator Gold, so, you know, stick around and we'll see you for that match right after this break.